Welcome to the April 4th council meeting of 2013. Everybody please stand. I'd like to ask Ms. Brannigan to do the invocation.
Let us bow our heads and remember we're in the presence of the Lord. Heavenly Father, as we gather here together to do good works in your name, we ask that you bless us in a special way, that we act with wisdom and with keeping the community in our thoughts. We ask that you remember all of our children who play sports for the city of Kenner and who reside in the city of Kenner, that you keep them well. And we also want to pray for all of our employees. As we watch those move on from their work here at the City of Kenner, we are reminded what a valuable asset they are to us, and we want to pray for the rest of their lives, that they remember their time faithfully at the City of Kenner, and also that you protect those who are still with us. We want to ask that you pray for all of those who are ill or convalescing in the city, and we want to also thank you for the gift of we want to thank you for the gift of the elderly, and that you protect them and keep them safe. For all of these blessings, we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. We have Kenner Lions Boy Scout Troop 223. Will please come in and help us with the pledge?
Front the flag. Scout salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. You may now be seated.
Well done, troop. You've had some good training.
Good evening, Madam Chairman. You have a quorum this evening. Madam Chairman, this evening we've received a request to amend the agenda this evening to add item 9J to the agenda, a resolution to determine whether or not the buildings located at 50 Granada Drive, Kenner, Louisiana should not be repaired or demolished.
Motion by Councilman Raynaud, second by Councilwoman Black, to suspend the council rules. All members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. If I could just have one motion to add the item this evening.
Motion by Councilman Raynaud, second by Councilman Black, to amend the agenda to include item 9J. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to object? If you do, please come forward now. Hearing none, all council members please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Madam Chairman, I've also received a request this evening to amend the agenda to include item 16I, an ordinance amending ordinance 9554 regarding athletic facility booking policies.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Stagney, to suspend the council rules. All members please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Stagney, to amend the agenda to include item 16I. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to object? If so, please come forward. Hearing none, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Madam Chairman, this evening we've received a request to change the order of business to hear item 18A at the beginning of the meeting.
Motion by Councilman Brannigan, second by Councilman Black, to suspend the council rules to add to take 18A out of order. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 18A, at the request of the administration, Ms. Lacey Bordelon for a brief presentation of economic development activities in Kenner.
We're waiting for the presentation to get started. Just a moment, please.
I'm so sorry about the delay. Presentation is getting up and running right now. But my name is Lacey Bordelon with the Jefferson Parish Economic Development Commission. Thanks so much for agreeing to include my presentation on your agenda this evening. And just to set the stage as to, okay, thank you. As to the reason why for my presentation this evening, I'll provide you with a little background. JEDCO has been operating under a cooperative endeavor agreement. Thank you very much, Natalie. JEDCO has been operating under a cooperative endeavor agreement with the city, providing economic development services. The CEA initially commenced January 1st, 2009. It had a duration for 1 year at the time. It created a full-time economic development staff position at JEDCO. And since the inception of the CEA, it has been amended 4 times, or renewed 4 times, to allow JEDCO to continue providing economic development services to the city throughout 2012 and into this current year. And I'm on slide 3. Thank you. As the economic development staff person at JEDCO, assigned to implement the CEA, I'm here this evening to provide you with some highlights of the activities that were carried out in the city of Kenner in 2012 by our organization, starting with retention and expansion and tax incentive participation, site selection assistance, business recruitment, and also provide you with some highlights of our economic development activities, the program set for this year. Now, retaining businesses and providing expansion opportunities to them is essential to the well-being of the community. A business retention and expansion program is designed to uncover business growth opportunities as well as warning signs that the business is at risk of leaving the community or closing. And this is why our business retention and expansion program is such a priority of our organization. Our program in Kenner in 2012 consisted of meetings with and surveys of Kenner's top employers, its manufacturers, revenue generators, and a targeted mix of smaller businesses. Business outreach consisted of 2 mailings to targeted companies with phone calls to the company's executives, staff participation at business association and related events, and a small business resource seminar that was co-produced with the Esplanade Mall. 121 Kenner businesses were contacted directly, either via mail or phone, as part of our program last year, and we were able to actually have a sit-down one-on-one with 44 Kenner businesses. And just a quick note about our seminar last year. If you remember the year before, prior to that, we had implemented a pilot program for these seminars, both of them in Kenner, the last one at the Esplanade Mall. And they were so successful that the mall manager last year called us and asked if we wouldn't mind doing that again. So we went ahead. It was a 3-hour program, and we were fortunate to have the participation of a representative of Louisiana Economic Development, the Small Business Loan and Guarantee Program, and also a certification expert with the Louisiana Small Business Development Center. Attendance was great. We had at least 30 people at each session, and that included about 7 Kenner small business owners. So taking a look at the information gathered from Kenner business owners throughout that 2012, our business retention program, you'll see the responses are generally positive, and I've just pulled out a few of these for you to highlight. 96% indicated they're staying in Kenner. 98% said they do not anticipate layoffs. 74% said they're satisfied with the quantity of job candidates applying for open positions in the company, and 65% satisfied with the quality of job candidates. 41% reported sales are increasing. 62% project sales to increase over the next 2 years. As far as change in employment, 8 companies reported either an increase or decrease in employment over the last 2 years, and there was a total net gain of 75 employees. 34% reported they have plans to expand within the next 3 years, anticipating a combined total investment of over $380,000 and an addition of 112 employees. Connecting businesses with resources is one of the reasons behind a business retention program. And some of the resources that JEDCO brings to business owners are tax incentive programs. These incentive programs are primarily administered by Louisiana Economic Development and are designed to encourage a company's local growth and investment primarily through tax credit, sales and use tax rebates, and a ad valorem property tax abatement. Jefferson Parish offers this incentive for some of these programs that LED authorizes. And our responsibility is in educating the business owners about the programs, pairing them with the program that is best suited to their industry or their expansion project, assisting them through the notification application processes, and administering that local component of the program. And additionally, each year we track participation and in the programs, including the number of jobs that the project is expected to create, as well as the total investment. In slide 8. In 2012, JEDCO enrolled 5 Kenner companies in incentive programs for their projects that are expected to result in 18 net new jobs while retaining 351 jobs. The project should generate over $1.6 million in new investment. The 2012 incentive participants ranged in size from 1 employee to over 300 employees and consist of 2 manufacturers, a child care facility, collections agency, and a pain management clinic. And I'll just point out that since the inception of the Kenner JEDCO CEA, JEDCO assisted 27 companies through their enrollment in tax incentive programs for 34 projects, generating over 700 new jobs and a total investment of almost $54 million, and retaining over 1,800 jobs. Contained within our suite of services of our Economic Development Services Department is site selection assistance. And we attempt to stay knowledgeable of the properties in the parish, and that includes in the city of Kenner. And we gather the information, populate our internal sites database. We have a featured properties page on our website for those larger sites. And we also have a subscription to Louisiana Commercial Database, and that we use that to compile responses to some of the site search requests that we receive. We received 64 requests in 2012 that required searching for available properties in the city of Kenner. And property types with the most requests were for vacant land at 23, warehouses 22, followed by office, retail, and then we had just 3 that requested land and a building, or they'd consider multiple options. Kenner had the available inventory that enabled us to respond to 24 of those requests with suitable properties, and most of those were for warehouse spaces. And since the inception of the CEA, JEDCO conducted 126 site searches in Kenner for available suitable properties. JEDCO also plays an important role in business recruitment, and it's a role that hopefully isn't underestimated. While we rely heavily on our regional economic development partner, GNO Inc., to aggressively reach out to prospects and initiate the pursuit, JEDCO works diligently and tirelessly with the prospect, providing them with the information and the assistance they need to make their decision of whether to locate here an easy one. An example of how our business recruitment efforts led to success is Revolution Foods. And I know you've all heard of that company. Revolution Foods is a food processor, food service establishment with a mission to provide healthy and affordable meals to schools. It expanded its operations to Kenner in 2012. It was the 7th, I believe, U.S. Culinary facility that they opened. JEDCO provided the company with site selection assistance, tax incentive information, as well as estimates of the benefits of each program that they would receive by pursuing that incentive program. Also, public transportation information that showed the company how their potential workforce in Orleans Parish would arrive to their property of interest, which was in Kenner. Also, we provided assistance related to business registration, permitting, and licensing. We connected the company with the Workforce Commission of the state to receive job fair assistance. They've held, I think, 3 so far, and provided government interface to further entice the company to locate here. In the first quarter, Revolution signed a lease on a 21,000 square foot facility in the Bainbridge area, and they made substantial improvements to the building to bring it up to their culinary needs and standards. The company anticipated creating up to 50 jobs in its first year of operation. In less than a year after commencing operations, the company now employs 90 workers and anticipates increasing its workforce throughout this year. Now, our program for the City of Kenner in 2013 is a comprehensive approach to economic development. It's focused, again, on retention and expansion, business attraction and recruitment, marketing Kenner as a great place to do business, creating resource materials for small business owners, and serving as support agency to the city and the implementation of the Kenner 2030 strategic plan. The Economic Development Program in 2013, again, reemphasizes the focus on business retention and expansion. We are currently implementing our program in the city with a goal of holding approximately 40 business retention visits. And through these visits, we aim to provide assistance by providing resources to small business owners. At each year's end, we also look forward to compiling a report that brings together all of our business retention meetings, their company responses to our questions in a comprehensive way, and also other services that some of our other departments, for instance, our finance department, brings to the city of Kenner throughout the year. We also look to increase our outreach to existing Kenner businesses, and that's outside of our typical mailing and mail-out structure of our business retention program, mail and meeting, if you will. The goal is to increase awareness of our organization and in particular of our finance programs. And to this end, we're planning a direct mail piece to approximately 250 Kenner businesses towards the mid or end of May. Our program for this year also focuses on business attraction and recruitment via primarily the marketing of Kenner properties that are for sale or lease through site selection assistance and through our website. I mentioned we have a featured properties page on our website. Currently, we're featuring 8 properties that lie within the city of Kenner, and they are in the process of being confirmed. Their status is being confirmed and updated. We anticipate assisting Kenner in the marketing of the airport's redevelopment property soon as well. An additional area where we can provide assistance in attracting businesses to Kenner is in providing expertise and guidance to the city in the use of a local incentive, for instance, a TIF or a pilot for economic development projects. Our program for this year will also consist of marketing Kenner as a great place to do business through press releases, social media postings, both highlighting economic development activities and such as new business openings, major expansions, and also cities' economic development initiatives. We also aim to make accessible to small business owners resource documents that together are intended to provide a wide array of information. One of those documents is the economic profile for the city of Kenner. I know I've talked about it pretty much every time I get up on this podium. We originally crafted the document in 2009. We've updated it on an annual basis. It goes through a major overhaul of bringing you the latest demographic projections, economic indicators, tax incentive financing programs, and many other resources. We completed that 2012 overhaul in December. We are waiting on some last-minute demographics, and it is now available for viewing and downloading via a link on the City of Kenner's website and also JEDCO's website. The second resource document is a quick reference guide, and this is for startup businesses in Kenner, which will be sort of a condensed version of the profile in a brochure format. We hope to make it available perhaps in the occupational license office. It will focus on key business resources included in the profile, as well as some city contact departments, department contacts, phone numbers, including planning, inspection, code enforcement, public works, police department, mayor's office, and the council offices. And last, but certainly not least, we will continue serving as support agency to the city in the implementation of your strategic plan, Kenner 2030, particularly in the areas of airports redevelopment and the redevelopment property, development of Lake Town and Rivertown, and business recruitment as well. So I tried to make that brief for you guys, as I do each time, but of course I'm here to answer any questions you have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Bordelon. Is there anyone on the council who wishes to ask any questions regarding her presentation? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much. Appreciate your time and efforts.
Okay, thank you very much.
Clerk?
Madam Chairman, we've also received a request this evening to change the order of business to discuss item 18B at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Brannigan, second by Councilman Black, to change the order of business to move 18B up to the discussion. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 18B, at the request of the administration, Mr. Thomas Caragliano, Kenner Fire Department, and Ms. Lynn Spearman with the Muscular Dystrophy Association to address the council regarding the Kenner Fire Department's Boot Shake, May 16th through 18th, 2013, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. each day.
Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Thomas Cordelano. It's Lynn Spearman with MDA. She has some hands out to pass out to you. We're here to request or ask permission of the council if we can do the boot shake on the date stated in the paperwork for the 3 days of, let me put my glasses on, May 16th through the 18th, which is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I understand there possibly is I don't know the word y'all use. Ordinance, yes. That's actually prohibiting the situation. So I'm wondering if we could actually get the ordinance lifted for those 3 days.
Keith.
Yes, sir. Okay.
First of all, before we start the discussion, you are aware that we have a solicitation law in Kenner and that it has been in effect. We had, over the past years, we have had some instances where children were out on the streets. So I don't have any problem in helping your charity. Hey, Lynn. Hi. Just realized it was you. Hi. But I want to caution you that anything that we do tonight and any discussion that you hear tonight is because of that ordinance that we have in effect. And I would like to caution you that with children, when we had the can shaking and on street corners and things like that, we had problems where a child was almost killed because it was obstructing traffic, et cetera. So I would have no problems with helping you guys out if you could go like at Walmart, or if you wanted to go to any of the shopping centers and shaking cans or raising money and boot shaking, whatever you need to do. That's not, I have no problem with that, but that is some of my personal concerns.
Okay.
Councilman Stagney would also like to address.
Well, before Mr. Stagney speaks, could I actually touch on a few things that actually we didn't discuss about on the MDA boot shake? Because in the pamphlet, if you notice, there is a bunch of highlighted situations here: safety records and liability issues, the history to fill a boot shake that actually has been going on for 59 years with the MDA. But based on the safety record and issues, over the 59 years, there's virtually no major accidents or incidents that actually come from the firemen doing the MDA boot shake. Also, like I said, we're only asking for minimally 3 hours for 3 days, which is a total of 9 hours. To also cover the city of Kenner, MDA has a insurance policy that actually covers any lawsuit problems. I don't know if Elaine wants to touch on that.
Well, one clarification I did want to make is that it's not an event where the children go out on the street. This is purely for the firefighters to go out onto the streets and collect the money themselves. It's benefiting all of our families, but the children especially, but it is specifically for the firefighters, so there will not be children on corners or running in streets or anything like that. And we do this with the firefighters strictly because they are safety personnel and they do safety for a living, and so they always have the necessary precautions. We do provide vests. We have banners and signs and things like that that we can place out before they even get to the intersections where they would be collecting, to warn people to watch out, quote unquote, for Fill the Boots coming up. And then we would also be doing a good amount of advertising as well. So hopefully people would be aware of what is going on at those intersections as well.
And we also have a legislation against signs and banners on public right-of-ways. So you see where we're going here?
I understand, but I didn't say it wasn't going to be in right-of-ways or on public right-of-ways.
Yes.
I mean, as long as we can
There's not a doubt in my mind that this is a great cause, and, you know, I'd be glad to make a donation and help out. I just want to tell you that I myself have, I'm going to go along with the wishes of the entire council, but I have some concerns in that in doing this for special individuals, we will be, may have to eliminate and showing other people, discriminating against other people who might want to do the same thing. So I'm very cautious in allowing anyone to go on our streets having signs or banners, which is against our solicitation law. You know, we passed legislation about 3 years ago where you can't even put political signs on election day and things of that, because people were doing that and it was getting out of hand. So I have no problem with you all soliciting through going in front of shopping centers and firemen standing on corners, but to actually go out into the street and, you know, and I have a real concern to that, because if we allow one, it wouldn't be fair to not allow others. So I have said what I wanted to say, but I'm only one person, and I will let the rest of the council also speak on it. I just want to caution my my colleagues against what could reoccur if we allow this to happen on a one-time case. Okay. Councilman Stanley.
Thank you, Madam President. And we know the firefighters throughout the country is, if not the top fundraiser for MDA, it's been one of the top. And Kenner's always participated in some way, shape, or form, either in collaboration with Jefferson Parish and the regional firefighters through New Orleans, or by themselves, and have done a great job. When did you say you wanted to do this? It's
May 16th, 17th, and 18th. Which is a Friday, Thursday, Friday, and a Saturday.
And right now, do you solicit, and I know Walmart, Winn-Dixie, places like that, in front of their establishments?
We do not. And the reason why we actually do not to say we can't, the purpose of the boot shake is that it's the volume of success that the MDA does, or the fire department does for MDA in those 3-hour period or 4-hour periods per day, than a month or two of time that you would actually spend in front of a local store that's in the city of Kenner. So we're trying to help people and help the fire department, because everybody is busy, and not to have them actually spend so much time of their day on their days off. I understand it's a good deed that we want to do, and it's the reason why it's the 16th, 17th, 18th is A crew, B crew, and C crew are all taking turns per day.
And where? Where again did you want to do the boot shakes?
Well, on this flyer here that you have, it would actually show the intersections that we'd be willing to. We would like to actually stand at, and that is because of the station's centralization. We didn't want to actually take the trucks out of their centralized area. So 35, which is City Hall, would be at Williams and Vets. And I'm just, you know, we're using this as just a guideline of criteria, because the larger intersections turn in more volume. That's why we actually wanted to use these intersections. So, you know, 37, which is down by Vintage, would be at Williams and West Esplanade. 39, which is at Loyola, would be at Chateau and West Esplanade. Not all intersections are going to be all major intersections. And because we understand that people will be possibly double donating, they are receiving an MDA sticker while they do make a donation. So they actually, when they get to another intersection, they're not tying up that intersection.
See, procedurally, if we were to even look at something like this, it would take a longer period of time than the dates that you are requesting to do this. And I'm not sure that it would end up falling the way you want it to fall, because you couldn't just make it exclusive to firefighters. You'd almost have to allow almost anybody to do that. And as Councilwoman Black has said, there are some provisions against soliciting and on public right-of-ways and doing some other things there. And that was done for some before we even got here, but for the safety of those people and for the motoring public. And maybe it could be looked at and done by registration. But I don't think there's any way possible, considering what we have to do to gather input, draft legislation, go through the proper steps, informing the public, giving them a chance to speak, that it would, there was just no way, I don't think that it can be done in this time frame.
Okay.
And I do think that there are some retail establishments that have a tremendous amount of customers, maybe even more so than you would get on some of these street corners. But, you know, I'm sure we'll all go back and talk about this, and I appreciate you coming. I want to thank you and the rest of the firefighters for the great work that y'all do for MDA, and we'll take a look at it, but you know, some of the council members were here a lot longer than I was. This was passed before I got on the council, but they may have had very good reason to do it. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Stagney. Councilwoman Brannigan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Hey, Lynn.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Good to see you. An old kind of girl. Not old.
Older.
Older than I remember, and I've known her for a very long time, so it's so nice to see you up here. But I have to agree with Councilmember Black. I was on the council when we discussed this issue, and I think in all the time, and correct me if I'm wrong, because Councilmember Black has a better memory than I think we've only ever looked the other way one other time, and that was after 9/11 when they did a boot shake for the firefighters in New York, and we kind of just allowed it to happen without any intervening. But the purpose of it was that we understand that firefighters are, you know more about safety than most people, but we also recognize that to make an exception to a law, first of all,
Two laws.
pardon me?
Two laws.
Two laws, is, not a practice that everybody that's up here knows that I'm a rule follower. If this is the rule, then you change the rule. You don't just break it or look the other way. So we passed this so that it was fair for all, not because we were asked constantly from teams wanting to raise money so that they could go on trips. And so then parents would say, okay, well, we won't let the kids out there, but we'll be out there. And honestly, it's a hard thing to police because you can't stop people from standing on the neutral grounds with their kids. We recognized and made public that we thought it was a dangerous practice, and then if we would allow it, I think that that's some sort of liability to the city. The chief certainly can have his policemen out there patrolling and policing that. So all around, I think that we have already recognized that we don't think it's a good practice. And like Councilmember Stagney said, it would take a whole lot longer to rescind an ordinance, not that I would be in favor of doing that, than the time that would allow for this to happen. I'm curious, why did the administration ask for this to be put on? Was there something maybe that the administration...
I hit the wrong button, I'm sorry.
I requested it.
It was requested through the fire department, and I know we had some discussions with one of the city attorneys that's not here, and that's what I was trying to get clarification on, and she's not here right now, so we got to find out what she read that possibly could have made this happen, and I apologize for that.
Because, I mean, we don't want to seem like we aren't
no, I understand.
compassionate to the
and
plight,
just-
but why would why would anybody ask us to do something that I don't think there's anything we could do, so I was curious as to why.
Right, and unfortunately, one of our attorneys is not here, and that's what I'm trying to find out, how this got put on, because it was a request made by the fire department, so we wanted to entertain the request, but there was something in the law that we saw, and unfortunately, she's not here to answer these questions, and we're gonna have to get with her on what the issue was. So
So are you saying that you think that there may be something in the law that would allow for us to?
That's to the best of my recollection. Let me see if I can find Ms. Shaw too and ask her.
There she is.
Oh, Tamithia. Tamithia, I need to get
I found her.
I need to get a seat belt for you in this seat up here because you don't like to sit in.
She doesn't stand out in that bright fuchsia, I'm sure.
Was Ms. Shaw the attorney who you thought? Oh. Can you shed some light on this, Ms. Shaw? Okay.
While we're waiting on that, if I might take into some of your time, Ms. Brannigan, I will be glad to make a sizable donation, like $100 donation to the cause in either way we go, because I know that it's not like we're Simon McGree's up here. We want to help out. It's a worthy charity, so I personally will tell you that.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
And we also have Councilman Denopoulos.
Thank you very much.
And Councilman Reyno.
You will get a
And
donation
Council-
from all, but let's resolve the issue. Ms. Shaw?
So I think right now we're starting off with $700.
Well, thank you very much. We do.
Now, how good is that? How many cars would you have to collect to get 700?
Well, I don't want to go back to 9/11 because I was collecting there, but I'm sure in one boot we collected over $500, which is in a couple hours. But yeah, that was a
That was
special
a-
event. I understand it was a special event that day.
That was a heart-wrenching situation, too. Everybody wanted to help those firemen, do whatever the firemen could do.
Yeah. But again, I want to bring the legal issue into it. Besides the amount of time, unless they find something in the ordinance, besides the amount of time, when we have passed an ordinance deliberately trying to eliminate any sort of issue that could happen because we recognize that it's dangerous, and then we allow it to happen. I mean, City Attorney, do you agree that if anything would happen, because I wouldn't say that it would be the firefighter that would, be in error. It could be a motorist that would be in error. And if somebody would get hurt, I think that leaves the city wide open to a lawsuit.
Absolutely correct.
Well, again, like I said, I know the MDA does carry a $1 million loss.
But who do you think they're going to name?
And I believe you said the firefighters are they're going to be working firefighters?
Yes.
It would be.
So that you got.
Yeah, that's a moot point.
And we do have the option to list the city of Kenner as additionally insured under our insurance policy
Yeah.
as well.
But they'll still name us in a suit, yeah.
Right.
What did we,
Our prior discussions on this were that they were going to do this at the driveways, at the firehouse, and at Walmart. That's what we had talked about with the chief, so, right.
yeah, because you can do it on private property.
Right. So that was our impression, that our impression was that they were coming just to talk about muscular dystrophy, and that would have, everyone wanted to, just like y'all are doing right now, donate, and that this was going to be the month for doing that. And the chief had told us that this was going to be done at the driveways at the firehouse and perhaps at Walmart. So, I know we talked about, we agree that our ordinance don't allow it on the intersection. So that was our understanding.
Well, I was shooting for the bullseye. That's why, because Boot Shake does actually produce more than that. I understand it was actually approved before for us to do Walmarts and then possibly the firehouse with banners on the trucks at the station. So I was trying to get back to.
But there's other events. I mean, we have things going on at gyms. We have the Battalion Fest. We have music in the park. Those are events that there's lots of people that we should make an opportunity to perhaps, staff those with, and I say we, meaning you.
No, I understand. And us, the fire department. Okay. Well, and it's understandable. I just wanted to see if we could actually do the boot shape because it was actually, like I said, it was basically 9 hours. That's even if the stations wanted to go out on their days because not every crew and every station wanted to actually spend their time possibly doing that.
And this is while they're working or when they're off?
No, while they were working.
And can that happen?
Why not?
I don't know.
We carry radios just like the policemen.
The chief did give his blessing.
Okay.
We'll have to talk to
That's-
the police chief about that.
Yeah, that's not my issue.
That's why I was saying in that general
But
area.
I think you ought to think about all those events that we just said, because I think it would be an opportunity where there's a lot of people. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to, not think that your cause or want to support your cause, but those are my thoughts on it and why. And that's, we're up here to try to protect the city, its liability, and I just think that we could open up a can of worms.
Well, I'll be by tomorrow to collect all those checks, though.
No, you said May.
Oh, I'm sorry, May.
No.
I'll take post-dated checks.
Yeah, no, our council clerk will make certain that we all get them in one place for you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Denopoulos, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And once again, I do apologize. This is just something that us as a council have to consider and the liabilities that it is. And obviously, everybody up here in the council wants to help out. So I'm going to probably contact you tomorrow and try to see if I can't get maybe some of the church groups and some things involved in my district to kind of help you guys out quite a bit. I mean, I'm gonna do what I can for my part. I mean, I didn't know that, that there was an issue with the, that these locations were not pre-approved, okay? And, it's kind of embarrassing, but it is a good cause. I'm glad you brought it to our attention. And I'm sure that we're going to follow whatever the city attorney instructs us to do on this. But once again, I'm glad to donate, and I challenge all the rest of the council to also donate to your cause, because it's definitely worthwhile. And I appreciate you coming, and hopefully we can get the word out and get those boots filled with money as much as we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Denopoulos. Mr. Keith Conley, our city attorney, you have the floor.
To bring up Councilwoman Brannigan asked how I got on. At the agenda meeting, when we discussed it, we thought it was just to promote the event, certainly not to come up and ask the council to take any kind of councilmatic action to rescind or amend any existing ordinance. So that's how it got on the agenda.
Thank you.
In regard to on the clock or not, that's something that we'll have to discuss with the chief itself. And I just want to reiterate, and looking at the letter that went to the council requesting that, we were under the impression that this was just a discussion about the value of the muscular dystrophy drive. And we had no idea we'd be talking about changing the ordinance or doing any type of variance, so.
And they're probably correct, but I mean, my first time standing here at the podium, I don't know the procedures. It's kind of like when the past mayor took office, and his first time in first time in office, he didn't know actually what was going on when you would tell him, no, you can't do that, Mayor. So.
Well, you did very well.
Yeah, well, I'm trying, So.
Thank you so much.
I wasn't trying to undermine the chief, undermine the council, or the city administration.
I'll give you my check tonight, okay?
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Clerk.
Yes,
Consent?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
We have a motion by Councilman Brannigan, second by Councilman Black, to approve the consent. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Madam Chairman, let me read the consent agenda in this evening. I forget, we have that new rule. We have to read it in, so let me read it. Item 1 is approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of March 21st, 2013. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. Item 2A is a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to Lake Pontchartrain Basin Foundation on Saturday, June 1st, 2013, and Sunday, June 2nd, 2013, at Laketown, being property owned by the City of Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 1734-13, Jennifer M. Crouch, to hold a public gathering for a graduation party on May 18, 2013, from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Laketown. Item 3B is application number 1739/13, Susan Yancich and Carl Hope, to hold a public gathering for a wedding on May 10, 2013, from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. at Veterans Park. Item 3C is application number 1740-13, McDonough 35, to hold a public gathering for a 20th high school reunion on May 26, 2013, from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Laketown. Item 3D is application number 1741/13, the Lake Pontchartrain Basin Foundation, to hold a public gathering for a Back to the Beach Festival on Saturday, June 1st, 2013, from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., and Sunday, June 2nd, 2013, from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Laketown. Item 3E is application number 1742/13, the Hell Diver Spearfishing Club, to hold a public gathering for a fishing rodeo on June 2nd, 2013, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at North Kenner Park. Item 3F is application number 1746/13, the Kenner Police Department, to hold a public gathering for a National Night Out Against Crime kickoff party on October 13, 2013, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Laketown. Item 4 is correspondence reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. We have none. Item 5 is acceptance rejection of bids requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. We have none. Item 6 is change orders requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. We have none. Item 7 is acceptance of committee findings for final passage. We have none. Item 8 is re-subdivision of ordinances, final passage. We have none. If I could, please get another vote on.
Motion by Councilman Brannigan, second by Councilman Black. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Item 9 is public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,442, an ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 1 and 2 of the City of Kenner Code of Ordinances regarding vehicles for hire. Madam Chairman, we've received a request this evening to defer this for 2 meetings? For a 2-meeting deferral.
Motion by Councilman Denopoulos, second by Councilwoman DeFrancis for a 2-meeting deferral. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,499, an ordinance amending the 2004-2005 capital budget to reallocate $7,950 from the youth baseball field at Wood Lake to Wood Lake playground equipment for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilman Denopoulos, second by Councilman Stagney. Councilman Denopoulos, you have the floor.
Could you please vote real quick to open your hearing?
Oh, I'm sorry. It is a public hearing. I apologize.
It's okay.
To open a public hearing.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to open your hearing.
We are now in a public hearing to hear summary ordinance number 11,499. If there is anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council at this time, please come forward. Motion by Councilman Denopoulos, Councilman Stagney to close. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to close your public hearing.
Motion by Councilman Denopoulos, second by Councilman Stagney to approve. Councilman Denopoulos, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And basically, back in the 2004-2005 budget, there was about $150,000 in a recreation account that was to improve some areas of the bike path and a bike station at the end of Vintage. Of course, you know, in the change of events that have happened since Katrina and things, you know, we just can't develop that area. So that money was actually put aside for improvements in recreation in Wood Lake, okay? And of course, it has done quite a bit of improvements. We actually knocked down the old park and ride and actually made 2 baseball fields out of it. And so basically what we're doing, and this is just for the, you know, the public to see what we're doing, how we're spending our money recreationally. And of course, we're taking about $8,000 of that money and putting it into the playground equipment that's at the south end of the playground. It's in much needed repair, and this is kind of like the little tot lot that we have there that's associated with Wood Lake. And so basically that's going to get a little bit of a facelift and an improvement. And I just want to bring that to the council and the public's attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Denopoulos. Hearing no other discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9C is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,500, an ordinance amending the 2012-2013 capital budget to reallocate $32,561 from the telephone systems upgrade and the off-site backup server to purchase Kenner TV equipment for the Department of Information Technology and Telecommunications.
Motion by Councilman Reyno, second by Councilman Stagney. Councilman Reyno, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President.
Hold on. Sorry.
I need to vote first.
Please vote to open your hearing.
Did it again.
That's okay.
Sorry, to open public hearing.
One more?
Because it's always you.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
We're now in a public hearing to hear summary ordinance 11,500. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council at this time? If so, please come forward. Motion by Councilman Reyno, second by Councilman Stagney to close public hearing. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to close your hearing.
Motion by Councilman Reno, second by Councilman Stagney to approve. Councilman Reno, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This kind of closes out the money that was set aside for KTV. I want to thank my fellow council people for working together, the administration, Valerie Wagasback with the IT department, and KTV, and this benefits all the citizens of Kenner, so this is really a good thing, and thanks for all the support. Thank you.
Councilman Denopoulos, you have the floor.
First of all, I want to thank Councilman Reno for bringing some deficiencies that we had with some of the equipment that we had at KTV, and also Councilman Stagney as well. And you know, I kind of call Councilman Reno the techno of the council here, and this is quite befitting this legislation, because, you know, once he came back to me, he had some sort of an interview, I think, at KTV. He came back to me, he was just, I mean, he was pounding on the desk saying, you know, how the equipment is, you know, needs some upgrading, and there's some stuff they can do better, and then we really need to get some money towards it. And, he set forth on a course to get it done, and I want to thank Councilman Reno to do it. Thank you very much.
Hearing no other discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, were you in the queue, Councilman DeFrances? I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
Did you just put your light on?
I'm sorry.
Councilwoman DeFrances.
I was just going to simply say that when Councilman Reno approached me, I think not only myself, but everyone on the council agreed with the fact that we did need to upgrade that equipment. And it was, KTV really does a great job, and he realized their need. And so I appreciate the work that he did. Thank you.
I second that emotion. Hearing no other discussion now, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9D is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,501. An ordinance amending the 2003-2004 capital budget to reallocate $14,250 from the project to replace the Worth Street Fire Station to Fire Department repairs for the Fire Department.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilwoman Brannigan to open a public hearing. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
We're now in a public hearing to discuss summary ordinance number 11,501. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address this matter? Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Brannigan to close the public hearing. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Brannigan to approve. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9E is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,502, an ordinance authorizing a public hearing to approve amendment number 3 to the fiscal year 2009 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, Final Action Plan, i.e. budget for the Department of the Community Development.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilwoman Brannigan to open a public hearing. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilwoman Brannigan to close the public hearing. Please vote. And
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
And motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilwoman Brannigan to approve. Any discussion? Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9F is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,503. An ordinance authorizing a public hearing to approve amendment number 1 to the fiscal year 2008 Community Development Block Grant Recovery, CDBG-R, funding award from the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, ARRA, of 2009, and the grant closeout for the Department of Community Development.
Motion by Councilman Brannigan, Second by Councilwoman Black to open a public hearing. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
We are now in a public hearing to discuss summary ordinance 11,503. If no one objects from the audience, please vote to close the public hearing.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilman Brannigan, second by Councilman Black to approve. Councilman Stagney, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. The last piece of legislation, this legislation, and the next piece of legislation, the CDBG Committee, Councilman DeNapolis, myself, and the Chairman, Councilman Carroll, went over all of this, and this is some needed repairs in some areas, improvements, some money for administration. And I want to go on the record, Ms. Terrell has been in constant contact with us, and we appreciate all of her hard work in bringing this to fruition. I know it's not been easy, but you and your staff have done a wonderful job. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Hearing no other discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9G is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,504. An ordinance authorizing a public hearing to approve Amendment Number 2 to the fiscal year 2012 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Final Action Plan budget for the Department of Community Development.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman DeNapolis to open a public hearing. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
We're now in a public hearing to discuss summary ordinance 11,504. If there's no one here to object, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman DeNapolis to approve. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9H is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,505, an ordinance authorizing a public hearing to approve Amendment Number 3 to the fiscal year 2010 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Final Action Plan, i.e. budget for the Department of Community Development.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Stagney to open a public hearing. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
We're now in a public hearing to discuss summary ordinance 11,505. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to discuss this matter? Please come forward at this time. Seeing none, motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Stagney to close the public hearing. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Madam Chairman, this evening, before we go to approval, please, we've received a request to amend this item. We will be amending a $10,000 increase to the Summer Youth Enrichment Camp for a total of $25,000 and a $10,000 decrease to the Youth After School Program for a total of $45,000.
Okay. So we have an amendment on the floor by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Stagney. Does anyone wish to address the amendment? Hearing none, please vote on the amendment.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to amend.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Stagney to approve as amended. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9I. 9I is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,506, an ordinance amending the 2007-2008 capital budget to reallocate $7,894 from the Westgate Drainage and Street Improvements Project to the AP Clay Complex Enhancements for the Department of Community Development.
Motion by Councilman Stagney, second by Councilman Carroll to open a public hearing. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
We're now in a public hearing to discuss summary ordinance number 11,506. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address this matter at this time? Hearing none, please vote to close the public hearing.
Your motion was Councilmember Stagney, second by Carroll.
Correct.
Thank you. Your motion passes 7-0.
Motion to approve by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Stagney. Councilman Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. As we all know, there has been a number of the information passed on for the CBDG. I didn't want to be stopping for each individual one because a lot of it is just the housekeeping that we have to get done. Obviously, we all know that the CBD monies are being cut each and every year. And not only with the cuts, we are being held accountable to be able to be more accountable, and to ensure that the monies are spent in the exact year that they are allocated for. So if Mr. Terrell just can come up, all of the information the committee talked about, there was only one that was kind of new to me. We put the amendment in just to let everybody know exactly what that relates to and why we're doing that, and had to amend it from the floor.
Oh, yes. The amendment was basically to move money from the after-school program and to put it into the summer youth program. What we were able to do, I think everybody's aware that the Martin Luther King Community Resource Center has been closed for several months due to renovations. And we're excited, and I'll bring a final report to the council, as you requested, that we're almost finished with those renovations. So we're planning this summer to have a summer camp there for the youth, but it will not be your typical let's have fun camp. It'll be a camp that will focus on academics and social skills and different things to make kids more aware of actions that they can take to make good decisions and be better, citizens. And I'm happy to say we have an excellent staff person that's been brought on board part-time. Matter of fact, she's here tonight, Ms. Duncan, that has been developing the program, has some very exciting activities for the kids that will definitely help them, those that's struggling with LEAP or just struggling with language arts, math, what have you. It'll be academically based, but it will be fun. And it'll be part-time from 9 to, I think, 8:30 to 12. And we're looking forward to being able to offer it to the community.
Right. Thank you.
So that's why I needed the $10,000.
Right. Hold on a second, Ms. Terrell. Ms. Duncan, please stand up. Ms. Duncan was my high school teacher at Bonneville High School, so I want to give her acknowledgement there. Thank you for all your support.
Just going to show you on your monitor.
And also, we have been, the city of Kenner, Mr. Terrell, if you can just address some of the constraints and some of the things we are now being held accountable for, like I addressed, as far as spending the money in the appropriate year. Can you just touch on that and what we have to do to ensure that, we are spending the money appropriately and there won't be any chance of losing it? And I think that is a big concern all of us need to share with.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, HUD, it's a lot going on in Washington with the sequestration and just all kind of things that's happening to federal funding streams. And there's always been a law in the book that says you shouldn't have over 1.5 times your grant that you've been awarded, and like some things you just get by with it. But in the last 3 or 4 years, they've been sending us written notices. The last notice was a little firmer, saying you either have to use this money or we're going to reallocate it to a local government that's spending their money and asking us for more. So we definitely don't want to have it seem as though the monies that's been awarded, we don't need it. It basically means that we have to look at and rethink how we're programming this money and how we can get it in and get it out faster than we've been doing it in the past. And one of the things the committee has talked about is looking at increasing the amount of funds that monies that's allocated to do housing, because housing activities are they move quicker than your typical capital improvement projects where you have your startup times with your consultant selection processes with architectural firms, and then you have to wait till things are designed, and then they have to go out for bid, and then construction. Well, you're looking at 2-3 years at this point, and we just do not have, unfortunately, that grace period of 2 or 3 years to just pool money and hold it, on reserve. So we'll be looking at coming up with some activities and programs that we can still have impact on the communities as we've had in the past, but get the money spent before we lose it. And so a lot of what you saw tonight was shifting things around to put it in place to get it spent. And we've been effective. And it didn't just start this year. The committee and I have been working on putting these things in place, as well as the administration, for the last 2 years or so.
Right, and not only you said you will come back at the next meeting with some pictures of the new MLK Center to show us the before and the way it looks now, looking fantastic.
Okay.
But also after all this, after we put this in the proper perspectives, to be able to address and give a report on what are the new housing initiatives that we want to do. I would appreciate if you can put that together so we can give it to the general public.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Mr. Carroll, I hope you weren't closing because we have 2 other speakers, so.
Okay, I will.
If you wish
Fantastic.
to close.
I wasn't closing, so
Okay.
I'll hold off.
Councilman Denopoulos, you have the floor.
Yeah, and once again, we had 5, public hearings considering this CBG block grant money on the agenda today. And this is just a paper trail. We have to keep things in order, and we have to keep progressing. Actually, 2 of them, of the amendments were actually needed to go to projects that we need to spend right away, or we'd lose the money. I mean, this is money that's coming from Washington, D.C. It's not local tax dollars. This is money that's been allocated to our city because of our economic situation and climate and the makeup of our city. And once again, that's dwindling every year, so you never want to give any of that back. And, all of these projects, and I can understand that, the government's approach is that they want to see this money go into the community as fast as possible, and we are trying to do that. I mean, we have a number of things that we are working on in District 5 as well as District 2 and as well as District 1, which are the 3 districts that qualify for this funding. And we're working on those projects and getting those things above board, making sure that this stuff gets into and improves the community. And once again, you do a wonderful job of keeping track of this monumental task of paperwork. And once again, we have to bring it before the council. That's part of our duty, is what we do with the federal dollars. But all these projects are worthwhile, and like I said, a lot of it's youth-oriented to improve the youth in our districts and their ability to have recreational activities as well as activities to do. But we do a good job with it. I want to thank you very much for all you do, okay? And make sure you bring some more money to District 5, okay? Thanks.
Thank you. Councilwoman DeFrancis, you have the floor.
Thank you. And again, Ms. Terrell, I have to compliment you for your hard work with the committee. When we put our children first and we think about their needs, the whole community really benefits. If we forget about our children, we all lose. And to use money effectively to not only provide recreational opportunities, but learning opportunities, if you can put the 2 together and make it a fun learning experience, kids learn and remember. And learning should be fun, and learning can be fun. And with your help and our dollars wisely spent, I think we're going to be a tremendous asset to the children of our community. So thank you for all you all have done. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, kudos to Mr. Stagney and Mr. Carroll, and to Mrs. Duncan. You taught Greg well, and and to everyone that's involved with this. So, Councilman Carroll, did you wish to close? Well, you want to put. No, you were Booth, John Wilkes Booth. Give Mr. Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. And again, besides thanking Ms. Terrell for her hard work, but also her staff, who sometimes have to work later to get the information that we ask for to ensure, along with the administration and the attorneys, because not only do we have to ensure that we're doing the right thing, but from a legal standpoint, we want to make sure there's no misunderstanding on how the money is being allocated, how is it being spent, how it's for administration, what's for this, what's for that. So everyone has a part in this. My committee members, Mr. Stagney and Mr. Denopoulos also, but all the council, we all have to talk about making sure we're doing the right things to ensure we can give the support where we can. So again, thank everyone for their support. I look forward to the MLK, the summer camp, and the next year with the CBDG. Thank you, Madam President.
Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9J, as a public hearing regarding a resolution to determine whether or not the building located at 50 Granada Drive, Kenner, Louisiana, should not be repaired or demolished.
Motion by Councilman Reyno, second by Councilwoman Black. Please vote on opening the public hearing.
One more?
Now,
Motion passes 7-0.
I have a question. This says a resolution. It doesn't have a summary. It's
Yes,
on
this
for
is a
It's a
resolution.
resolution?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're now in a public hearing to discuss this matter. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to object, please come forward now.
Good morning, Council. My name is Jan Jumonville, and Placide Jumonville III is my son. So I'm here to ask you not to take any action. I have a plan that's in place now and has actually begun. And if I may pass some things to you so that you can see what has been done so far. And I apologize that I was not able to make a copy for everyone, but unfortunately my printer ran out of color with all the photographs that I wanted. So I've got at least two, and then one where I just ran out of ink and it just wouldn't work. So if I may give you those.
Would we be able to
This
help
is
in
the
printing
one
those,
that
Natalie?
I only was able to make one photo of. This is one where I got two out of the machine. Well, actually, all the rest of these are all two out of the machine. And what is being handed to you is a total of 50 photographs. 15 are photographs that will show the structures on the property and the yard to show you what's been done there. And then 35 show you the interior. And I'm going to explain as much as I understand, but I'm not as knowledgeable as my husband, so I'll defer to him if there's any questions. But first of all, the fence has been removed, and the yard has been completely cleaned, front and back. There is absolutely nothing there other than the trees and the bushes. We're even going to have the palm trees removed because it's too close to the house, and so it needs to be done. So that actually is probably going to be finished off today, this afternoon. The house has been completely cleaned and everything removed except for some of the material which might need to be used, which is up in the what we call the attic. And I don't climb ladders that high, so I wasn't able to take a photograph, but I think Mr. Ostendorf did, but that's why those things were left there. I have, actually at this point, I have one contract that is electronically signed, and that's for the repair of the garage. The house is secure, it's locked. The glass from the vandalism has been mainly removed. That looked like it was going to fall, so I had all that taken care of. All the debris inside has been gone. It's been swept, cleaned, so it is ready to get started. We have talked to several contractors. The garage is taken care of, and I have, well, let me just pass that one on to you too. I have two of those. This is the contract which is in place, and Home Renovations Plus is going to start on Friday to work on the garage and do whatever repairs need to be done there. The house, we have discussed with another contractor that we wanted to take care of the house, finish the house off. He is actually working today on finishing the estimate. We have basically an oral agreement at this point that we all understand what needs to be done. And of course, he wants to put it in writing, and we want him to put it in writing too. And he promised us we would have that by tomorrow morning. So the only thing I could bring was something to show you that this is a reputable contractor. He's with the Better Business Bureau. And he's also on Angie's list, which I understand is supposed to be a good thing. I also wanted to let you know that I spoke with Mr. Conley to come and get some more information about maybe specifically what was the most important thing to get started on. And as a result of that meeting, I consented on behalf of my son to also go into the mayor's court, which I was at earlier today, the 12:30 meeting, with some code violations that they felt were appropriate. Actually, 4 of those had already been completed, and my photographs show you that there's 4 of them that are not. The rest, as I understand it from reading it, will be addressed by the contractor who's going to handle the garage and the contractor who will handle the house. So I'm asking you to give us time. It's just a matter of signing the second contract tomorrow, and Mr. Castillo has advised that he should be able to start it right away, that there should be no delay. He has the time to begin working on it.
Somebody, Alfonso Castillo Construction Company.
I don't think it's on.
Is it on?
No, maybe I should. I'll move over here.
They're very large scale, widespread, and very experienced. They're aware of the problems. They've come out. We work with them quite a bit in setting up a plan, a schedule to get this thing resolved. They're going to address the exterior of the building first. And the building, the structural formation of the building is all cell cure. Number 2, pine throughout. There was no lumber in that was ever used. It was not cell cure. The original housing was removed a few years ago with the renovation stuff. They had a lot of termites. It was poorly constructed, so that's how it got to where it is today. But as far as the resolution of Mr. Castillo's work, there's no question about the funding of it. It's all been resolved, and the beginning of the work. I suspect it's going to take him several months to do it. He's going to bring it all through to the drywall phase. We've had other subs out there that have been correcting the vandalism problems with the utilities, electrical, plumbing. There was a lot of vandalism in the house. There was some arrests made. There are drugs in the neighborhood out there. There's problem people in that neighborhood. In a house by itself, probably $35,000, $45,000 of damage was done with vandalism. But obviously, we're at the end of the road, and we have 2 very reputable contracting companies that will be able to resolve the problem. That garage is going to be finished in a couple of days, and then Mr. Castillo starting with his work. Yes, that's.
We're asking you to give us the time to do it. All we got to do is sign the contract with Mr. Castillo, and so we're asking you to give us the time to do it. I've already got one contract in place. I'm going to sign the other one for my son tomorrow when we are given the copies of the estimate, and then it's going to continue to completion.
I'm sorry, I was listening. Okay. All right, thank you. We have a motion now to close. If there's no one else that wishes to speak, we have a motion by Councilman Reyno, second by Councilman Black, to close the public hearing.
Okay. Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to close your hearing.
Motion by Councilman Reyno, second by Councilman Black, Is this to repair or demolish, or do we just to discuss it now, Natalie?
It's on the floor for discussion.
Okay.
Whatever you decide, then we'll take that motion.
Councilman Reno, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. and Mrs. Jumonville, I'm the new council member for District 3. I have not heard from you one time about this house. All life expects out of us is measurable progress in reasonable time. This house has been a blighted house. It has been a hazard for the neighborhood, for the children. It's been an eyesore for a long, long time. I've lived in Driftwood for 13 years. And the efforts that have been put forth by y'all to renovate and do something for this house is non-existent. The city of Kenner has expensed thousands and thousands of dollars trying to get y'all to do something. It's over with, it's done. So I would like to amend this resolution to demolish this property. Madam Clerk.
Second the amendment. Okay, we have an amendment on the floor to demolish. Does anyone wish to speak on the demolition? Ms. Shaw, you have your light on. Did you wish to speak on the demolition?
Yes, I have a presentation I would like the council to see.
I have a list here. You're on the list. I have Ms. Shaw has had her name on the, sorry, Mayor, you get pushed back by your code enforcement director. Take it up with her.
I'm going to ask my code enforcement director to yield me.
Okay, Councilman, Ms. Tamithia Shaw, would you like to yield to Councilman, to Mayor Yenny? Excuse me, I just demoted you besides, Mayor, excuse me.
I will yield to Mayor Yenny.
Mayor.
Okay.
I'm also going to delete Councilman Stagney.
I was on this.
Mayor, you had the floor.
Okay. Just to comment on what Councilman Reno said, he's lived in that neighborhood for 13 years. Well, I've lived in this city for 36 years, my entire life. I had friends down that street when we were in grammar school where bus stops had to be moved because they were on that corner because of the blight and the rats in those homes. And I'm tired of this home. I'm tired of the excuses. You know, it's nice to have a reoccurring dream, but this is a reoccurring nightmare. I've sat in this chambers with other mayors and watched them go through the same thing and give more time and more time and more time. As soon as we have time to demolish this house, or as fast as we can do it, I'm gonna invite y'all to come help me work the wrecking ball in this house. We've gotten one house that they blighted our city with, and this one's going too. That is one of my promises. Whatever we have to do to take this house down, we will. It is blight on our community. It is totally been a disgrace for the residents of Driftwood for as long as it's been like that. And I can't believe people would have the audacity to say, give us more time. Shame on them. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor. It goes without saying, I've been a councilman for 20 years, and I have been dealing with this home as a District 3 council member prior to my serving as at large. And I must say, Mr. and Mrs. Jumonville, y'all look well. You haven't aged a bit. You look good. But I have to go. I mean, I don't know how you could expect me, of all people, who have been to court with you all on numerous occasions, have done everything we possibly could to give you all the benefit of the doubt, and now 18 years later, you're still making promises. And as much as I don't, you know, I'd love to believe what you're saying, the things that you have shown me tonight are basically landscaping. You've pulled up trees, and you're going to fix the garage. You're going to fix the outside of the house. But the inside of the house, the fact of the matter is, this house has been inhabitable for almost 18 years. And that's why it's where it stands, and that's why this may sound very harsh to you, but we all feel that it's long past due. And as much as we would like to take you in due time, the past has shown us that you have not complied in the 18 years that we have tried to do something with this house. So I'm going to support the district councilman on this due to those facts. So Councilman Stagney, I know you wish to speak.
Thank you, Madam President. Just very briefly, I know people have dealt with this situation, elected officials and administrations, for a long time. I'm going to commend Councilman Reyno and as Councilman Carroll says, Attorney Shaw, Co-Director Shaw, for being aggressive on this, because this has gone a very long time. And it's not that this body wants to do that or the administration wants to do that. When this man knocked doors, residents all along that area begged him to do something with that property, because that property is impeding upon their quality of life. So I compliment you, Councilman Reyno, and I'm going to vote with you on that. And as I understand it, your motion was to raise or demolish a house in time allotted by law, right? Okay, and I'll vote with you on that.
So
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Ms. Shaw, you now have the floor.
Thank you. The structure in question is a 3-story, single-pile supported slab foundation bearing the municipal address of 50 Granada. The property is owned by Placide Jumonville III. On February 28, 2013, the mayor received written reports regarding the building located at 50 Granada. The violations found by the Department of Inspection and Code Enforcement are as follows. Section 563, substandard building must be repaired or demolished. Section 588, maintain exterior foundation, wall, roof. Section 564, building premises maintenance required. Section 9.5, 7A3, no grass weeds over 7 inches. Section 9.5, 7A3, remove trash, debris, refuse, noxious matter. Section 589, maintain exterior door window screen. Section 591, cleanliness of dwellings, yards, accessory buildings, and freedom from vermin infestation. Section 597, maintenance of all heating, plumbing, and electrical appliances and fixtures. The structural engineer retained by the City of Kenner noted the following deficiencies during its visual inspection. Vegetation around the building is overgrown. Wooden fence along the eastern property line is leaning and partially blocking the sidewalk. Ground subsidence has caused voids to form under the slab at various locations. These voids could be harboring location for rodents and small animals. Section of roof shingles are missing, thus exposing the roof decking. Section of the wall siding at the rear of the structures are rotted. Numerous trip hazards from exposed reinforced steel along the back of the structure. The rear door is unlocked, thus allowing access to the interior, and numerous falling and tripping hazards in the interior of the structure. Since interior is accessible to the public, this is a serious safety concern. Based on the report of the Department of Inspection and Code Enforcement and the engineer, the structure poses a serious public hazard that should be declared a public nuisance and demolished.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw. Councilman Denopoulos, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I mean, I can remember it'd be at least 4 or 5 years ago you came before the council, and we were still having these same issues and problems. And I can tell you, I have blighted houses in my district, and I can tell you that the city of Kenner we just have a no-tolerance policy, you know? If you don't want to be responsible for your property, then we'll be responsible for it, and we're going to tear it down. So I'm going to have to support the councilman in his efforts. I can tell you that your properties are known throughout Jefferson Parish, the infamous properties. And it's a shame, you know, and I'm sorry that 2 of those properties were here in Kenner, but not anymore. You know, Keith, I think you've done a good job on it. I'm going to support you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Brannigan.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I've been around a long time as well, and I know that Councilmember Black has fought hard. I mean, I know many times appearing in court, and the amount of money that you have cost this city just to get you to do the right thing is just, I don't understand it. And I won't ask why, but I just don't understand it. But everybody has said basically the same thing, but I just want to clarify one thing. You said that people have been in your property and that there's problem people here in the Kenner and there's drugs in Driftwood. And I just want to say that when you provide a place for children to break into or other people to break into, that's this blighted type of property that has been abandoned for so long, it's exactly why we have been so aggressive in fighting blighted property, because it's not that bad people and then the property goes down. It's the property goes down and then the people follow. They know where to go. So if your house would have been maintained and people would have been living there, we wouldn't have the problems that we have there. So I kind of resent the fact that you say that we have bad people in that neighborhood. I think people seek out those types of properties to go do whatever they do in. So I certainly think that most of the people who live in Driftwood are very good people and have also asked so many times over the years for us to do something about this, and now is the opportunity. And I'm certainly not going to let them down again if I have in the past. But I just wanted to clarify that there's not bad people in Driftwood that are doing bad things, and it almost sounded like your home was a victim of this. I think the neighborhood is a victim of your home, so I'll be supporting you.
Thank you. Councilman Reno, did you wish to close?
Thank you, Madam President. As I said before, Mr. and Mrs. Jumonville, it's time for the house to come down. You've had 18, 20 years. When I was elected and came into office, and I met with Ms. Shaw and asked about this property because it was #1 on my target list. Everybody that I knocked on doors said, can you do anything with that house? Can you do something with that house? Our property values are declining. It's bad for our neighborhood. And it was one thing after another. And when I saw the volumes of files on this house, and the fact that in talking to Councilwoman Black, that y'all have gone so far as to change the title to the property in order to delay the legal process. I mean, you've done everything possible not to do any repairs on this house. And regardless of what you say, oh, well, I have this and I have that, this house is coming down. I thank the mayor, I thank the administration, my fellow council people up here, because I know they're going to vote to tear this house down. Ms. Shaw has worked tirelessly on this, and I thank all of their efforts. And this is, great for the people of Driftwood, that house is going to come down. That's what they want, and you had adequate time. So that's it.
Hearing no other discussion.
To clarify, you're voting on your amendment, which is to demolish, please.
Okay. Please vote on the amendment.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Now I need a motion to
Motion by
adopt.
Councilman Reno, second by Councilman Black. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. Item 12A is summary ordinance number 11,498, an ordinance authorizing the Chief of Police to create the class of Deputy Chief of Police as a competitive class.
Motion by Councilman Stagney, second by Councilwoman DeFrancis. Councilman Stagney, did you wish to yield to Mr. Morello, or before you wish to speak first? Okay, Councilman Stagney is going to open on this legislation.
Thank you, Madam President. Back in 2010, the Louisiana State Legislature, in their wisdom, with requests throughout the state, developed a position called the Deputy Police Chief. That position requires a certain amount of experience. I believe it is part of the civil service system. It requires testing, a certain amount of years in law enforcement experience. I'm going to let Chief Caraway tell us why he decided to ask for that now, and the law on the state level says that the police chief needs to ask for this position, and the governing authority needs to approve it. So, Chief, if you will,
sure,
give me some background, please.
As Councilman Stagney said, this law was created in 2010 at the request of myself and other police chiefs, and it was worked on with the Louisiana Chiefs of Police Association as well as the State Examiner's Office. Even the State Examiner's Office realized that police chiefs that are subject to seniority-based civil service only are forced to promote strictly on seniority. It has nothing to do with qualifications. It could be someone who just shows up for work for 30 years, and if he's next in line, he's got to be promoted. That's no way to run a business. Any of you business people up there wouldn't do it, and I certainly fought hard to get this law passed. I'm probably one of the last ones to take advantage of it because, unfortunately, when the law was passed, I already had a commander of operations in place, which is essentially what this position will take over, the commander of operations position. But what it allows me to do after testing and after certain requirements are met is I can appoint, based on the test scores, the deputy chief of police, just as all other police chiefs and sheriffs can do. You know, it's no secret that seniority-based civil service departments are the ruination of law enforcement. The Chiefs of Police Association for years has lobbied the legislature to allow us to conduct our promotions based on, similar to the state police, where you can select from within the top 5 scores, or even the top 3 scores. That would be fine. But it's always been fought. It's been fought by other public service agencies, not police departments, who fear that it will trickle down to them. And, you know, it's just not a way to do business. If I can't have somebody there that I trust, that I know can get the job done, I'm not going to promote somebody to major just because they're next in line. I make no secret of that within the police department. They all know my feelings. They all know that there's not going to be a promotion to the rank of major. I think that this is something long overdue, and again, I would have done it much sooner, but we already had somebody in place. This position itself will essentially take the place of commander of operations. The title will be, because of the law change, deputy chief. The pay will be the same as commander of operations, and if you read what I sent to you, the law, if that person, another police chief, comes in, he will have the option to call for a test to select his deputy chief. That person who is deputy chief at the time of a new police chief coming in would revert back to his previous rank, whatever that may be. So that's why it's being done. It's not, it's certainly, it's a law that was passed. It's a law that was worked on for quite some time. Chief Don Dixon with mind's blank.
Rain freeze.
No, Lake Charles, I'm sorry, Police Department. Lake Charles Police Department, he's the chief of police and former FBI agent. He worked very hard on this because he was facing the same thing we face here and many other departments face. So, again, it's a great law that was passed, and, you know, it's going to serve law enforcement well.
And I'd gotten a couple of calls, and I wanted to make the point that, one, the reason Chief Caraway has taken this amount of time was, and we all would get the letters when the chief had to go out of town, we would get the letter, I don't know if I'm supposed to say the person's name.
Right.
Dwayne.
Babin, right.
Babin would take over in his absence.
He was the next.
Out of respect to Dwayne, he retired.
Yes.
And now the chief is moving forward, and I want the viewing public to know that that position is being eliminated. It's not costing any more money, and it is within the police chief's budget already.
Correct.
So thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Stagney. Councilwoman DeFrancis, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. And actually, many of the things that Councilman Stagney mentioned, I was going to mention myself when I was going to move on it. But Chief, I read through the whole packet that you sent me.
Right.
And it was a well-developed, packet in which it explained exactly why it was needed. It explained what the provisions were in order to, that had to be, that you were going to use in choosing this person.
Correct.
And again, if you're not there and you have to put someone in your place, you want to make sure that you have faith in that person, that they can run the department in your absence, no matter why you're not there.
Correct.
And I think that is important. And again, whenever you're working in a business, or in the school system, for example, and you have to have someone under your command if you want want to use that term.
Correct.
You have to be able to trust that person to do the job and have that faith in that person that you're not going to have to worry about what's happening when you're not there.
That's correct.
And again, I'm going to be supporting it. I think it's not going to cost any more money. We're very careful to make sure we utilize every dollar effectively, but also to make sure that the right person is there doing the right job for the
They will be
people of
making more than the
this
police
city.
chief, though.
Pardon me?
They will be making more than the police chief.
Unfortunately, I know that's Chief. But I will tell you, I have to compliment your department. I think you all are doing a great job. I can honestly tell you that I feel safe anywhere in the city of Kenner, and I talk to people all the time. I don't care whether you have to go run an errand late at night or where you're going. This department has done a great job in providing public safety here in the city of Kenner, and I think that's why so many people feel comfortable living here in this city. And congratulations and a thank you to you and your whole department. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. And as Ms. Brannigan just said, we feel your pain, Chief, because our secretaries make more than we do, too. Councilman Dinopoulos, you have the floor.
Yeah. Once again, Chief, I'm going to support this because, once again, the people elect you to, to take care of our city and look forward to you to make sure it's taken care of in your absence. And like you said, you want to make sure that person has the qualifications and you feel has a direction that you have, taken this police department. So I'll be supporting this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Dinopoulos. Councilman Carroll, you're coming up, Mr. Morello, just a minute.
Thank you, Madam President. And I, too, will be supporting this. Thank the chiefs for this. It's been a couple of years. I think Officer Babin, who is also a Bonneville graduate, along with Officer Senegal, went to school with me, are fantastic gentlemen, and it's not a reflection on them. I just believe to be able to have this in place gives the police department a level of authority that no one can question when it comes to this. So thank you, Chief. Thank you, Madam
Councilman
President.
Carroll. Mr. Morello, you have the floor. You know the procedure.
Al Morello, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 41 years. Thank you, Chief. You touched on the concerns, the questions that I had on this, and so did you, Councilman Stagney. And I'm in support of it as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing no other discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution making application to the State Bond Commission for consent and authority to issue, sell, and deliver sales tax revenue bonds and sales tax revenue and refunding bonds of the City of Kenner in the total aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $47 million, setting for the security therefore and other matters in connection therewith.
Motion by Councilman Brannigan, second by Councilman Black. Mayor Yenny, you have the floor.
Thank you, ma'am. I have a statement, I have a presentation, and then we have our bond counsels here to discuss all this with y'all. I firmly believe we must have and fund a vision for the city of Kenner. I have listened to the people of Kenner, and we have worked within our budget. We do not spend what we do not have. I have cut more than $8 million in expenses. I have reduced the workforce in Kenner by more than 130 positions. I have received low-interest loans and bonds to dramatically improve our storage system in the amount of $59 million. I have fought to receive $27 million from the Paths to Progress for our heavily traveled roads. I am continuing to fight for funding under the Flooded Streets program for our residential roads. We have done quite a lot over the past 3 years for our city's infrastructure and capital needs. But our people deserve a sense of place, a community with a peaceful and rewarding quality of life. Some critics want to delay our progress by trying to smear me and my administration once again. They suggest that we have created this 2030 report without public input or without disseminating proper information. This plan has been in the works for over 2 years, and we have discussed the critical elements of this plan at every single Economic Development Committee meeting which has been open to the public. I have run a video presentation of this report on KTV, our community access channel. I have presented this plan to civic groups, business groups, media companies, and more, including the editorial board from the Times-Picayune. The people of Kenner deserve progressive thinking and strategic planning. We have an opportunity to fund Phase 1 of the 2030 plan to begin to beautify our city by rekindling energy in Kenner that will bring new residents, new jobs, new businesses, and lift us from a rut to a renaissance. I support this plan, and I urge each of you to do what's right for Kenner, and let's employ the best bond marketing fund available to signal the rebirth of Kenner. I have a presentation from one of my colleagues, Natalie.
Hello, my name is Connie Moran, and I am the mayor of the city of Ocean Springs, Mississippi. And it's my privilege to address the City Council of Kenner this evening and the citizens of Kenner. What I'd like to talk to you about is how important beautification is as an integral element of economic development. After Katrina, we all had the opportunity to rebuild our towns and our homes. And the idea is to build more beautiful, not necessarily bigger, but certainly better. What we heard from our citizens is that they wanted an aesthetically pleasing community with attractive gateways to our community. And I'm standing right here at the base of the Biloxi Bay Bridge that connects the city of Biloxi to Ocean Springs. We received some grants after Katrina, and we invested in art, sculpture, our creative economy here in the city of Ocean Springs. This is a 120-foot mosaic mural. It depicts the flora and fauna of the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And we've had similar projects all throughout the city, at our gateway, at our highways, on our boulevards, and especially in downtown Ocean Springs, where we replace cracking pavement and underutilized parking lots into new plazas for fresh markets and for vibrant festivals. We have brick crosswalks, new street lighting. We've buried the utilities in our downtown area, and it has brought tremendous new investment for restaurants, dining, nighttime entertainment, shops, and art galleries. It has really been significant for us to invest in beautification and new streetscape. It makes Ocean Springs one of the places where people want to come and live. Because if you don't build a place where people want to live, you're certainly not going to have a place where businesses want to invest. Another very important element in our redevelopment plan was to include walkability into our community. And here at the Biloxi Bay Bridge, you see how many people are enjoying the walking path, which then we've connected along our front beach with a walkway that goes to our small craft harbor. And it has landscaping all the way through. It connects to our Fort Maurepas Park and 3 community piers. So it is very important for our bikers, for kids on skateboards, for people of all abilities to enjoy our waterfront. And that is the element that we're trying to take all throughout the community. In closing, I would just like to encourage the City Council of Kenner and the Mayor to embrace any effort to improve beautification and art into your community. It will revitalize your urban landscape.
This just gives you a sense of another area that's done this and been very successful with it. You know, we've kind of, I guess, talked about with Jefferson Parish's beautification and what they've done, their corridor redevelopment through veterans, but the proof's in the pudding. The businesses that they've helped attract and the new development that's going down the Veterans Corridor, which has only been about $4 to $5 million of improvements, and here we're looking to do about $29 million of improvements. So, I mean, this can be vital for our city's future. I now have our financial advisors to tell you why it's best for us to do this and what we're asking the Bond Commission to do.
Please identify yourselves.
Kent Scheckcenter, Sisling Securities, New Orleans, Louisiana. I guess to start off, we've been working on this since, Mike, probably about August 2011, and you know, hopefully it comes to fruition with the kickoff today. As you guys know, we are looking to refinance the city's 2003 bonds. As you know, we're trying to refinance the city's 2003 bonds using current low interest rates today. The current bond debt service of the series 2003 bonds is $3.195 million. We're going to take that same revenue stream. We're not going to increase its current taxes that are on the city's books already, and we're going to bond that out for 20 years. What will that do? That will not only provide interest rate savings and debt service savings for the city on their 2003 bonds, but it would also give the city $28 million to complete some of these projects that the mayor has been talking about. All this without increasing the annual debt service that the city currently pays. There's no new taxes on this, and the annual debt service will not increase. It will still remain at $3,195,000. And Bill's here to explain the resolution that you guys have to consider today.
Good evening. Bill Becknell, 3445 North Causeway Boulevard, Suite 736. I've been serving as bond counsel in connection with this transaction, which means we put together all the legal documentation, go through the procedural steps to have this approved by the State Bond Commission in this body. What you're being asked to approve tonight is a resolution making application to the State Bond Commission. In connection, what you're doing is authorizing us to put together the documentation and information that the State Bond Commission would need to consider whether or not your financing makes sense, because they truly look at it just like your financial advisor, your finance people, and you all will be looking at it. In connection with this, there's no cost involved. Basically, we file the application, supply the information to the State Bond Commission. This is not the legislation that commits you to do anything financially. It merely starts the process while you all are looking at this and going through the ordinance process to actually authorize the sale of the bonds. So I'll be glad to answer any questions regarding the resolution that's before you.
Basically, what I would like to just stress to the public, the people in the audience and to the listening public, this is not something that we're going to do tonight. I mean, we're not going to go ahead and refinance the bonds or anything like that tonight. All we're doing is putting in a request and following the procedure. I wanted to emphasize that, even though you already said that, I wanted to make sure they knew that this is nothing carved in stone as yet, but you do have to go through the procedures in order to get the ball rolling. So to anyone else that would like to speak or after the council has spoken, we'll be glad to hear them, but we want to make sure we stick to that one topic. And Mr. Becknell, I know you've been around a long time, and I have the utmost faith in what you put together and what Mr. Sisson's Mr. Sissons does too also. So thank y'all for coming tonight, and we'll give the floor back. The mayor, did you still wish to address?
You don't want to tell Bill he looks the same too?
No, Bill doesn't look the same. He's thinner and better looking.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. I'm much older since the last time I've been before you, Ms. Black.
So
let me emphasize what you're saying, though, Ms. Black. All these transactions are market-driven, so you want to get the process started. I mean, that's basically what you're doing. And
That's
so
correct.
This is not an ordinance to incur debt at this point in time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you wish to close, Mayor? You want to remove Councilman Reno?
Thank you, Madam President. This is an application, and is it tied to the amount of the amount on the bonds? In other words, if the city chose to do less, they can do less?
The way these work, if you read the caption of the resolution before you, it says it's an amount not to exceed. And a lot of this is depending on the interest rate at the time, the total issue that's going to be issued. In connection with the application, there's a form that we use at the State Bond Commission supplies on their website. We then supply various financial information from the city, everything else, and then the market fluctuates. So, and your financial advisor will be in charge of that part of it. But yes, this is the interest rates and amounts in these types of resolutions are a not to exceed type amount.
That's what I wanted you to say. That's fine. That's all. That was my only question. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Dinopoulos, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, I mean, I'm going to put this a little bit simple. I mean, basically, you're going out and you're window shopping. I mean, basically what you're telling me, you're trying to find out what the bond rating would be, the rates we would get, and how much money we could borrow against the money that we've allocated that's currently in our budget that's paying these bonds. Is that correct?
I am not doing that. I'm.
No, this application is.
I'll let, the application merely starts a process.
Right.
During which your financial advisor will work with your financial people to determine the market.
All debt issued in the state of Louisiana has to go through the State Bond Commission to get
Right.
approved. This is just one step in the process. The first step being you guys adopting a resolution authorizing us to go on your behalf to the Bond Commission to do that. The second part of that is actually getting the State Bond Commission to approve the not to exceed amount at not to exceed rates. The third step is then the final ordinance.
The final
come at a later date. And then at that time, we go begin marketing bonds.
So we have no commitments at this point to anything other than the fact that we're just allowing for an application to be submitted?
Correct.
Thank you.
Councilwoman DeFrancis, you have the floor.
Thank you. And again, that was the point I was going to emphasize. First of all, to put in the application costs us $100. It does not commit any large sum of money that we're going to be held responsible. Pardon me? Well, okay. We actually, Councilman Reyno and I met, we've had numerous meetings, but we met again with Duke McConnell this afternoon. And we wanted to be assured that if we went forward with the resolution, that it was, and we decided later not to go forward and decide to issuance to have the bonds issued and sold, that we would not be obligated and that it would not cost the citizens of Kenner large sums of money because we decided against it. And we were assured by Mr. McConnell as well as you, Mr. Schexnayder, right? Am I saying correctly? That you talked to the bond commissioners themselves and gave us reassurance that that was the case. And let me just again emphasize, even if you vote yes for the resolution tonight, you are not committing that you're in favor of issuing the bonds. You're not committing that you want to make sure that the bonds are sold and that we're going to take this money and put them in these projects. What you're saying is that we need to explore this possibility. That's all you're doing. You're saying, let's explore the possibility. Let's talk again. Let's talk again to our constituents, get more input, and we have the time to do that before we take the next step. And again, you can't do that till you know you're going to at least move forward with the first step. It's a three-step process. We talked to Mr. McConnell. Is that not correct, Duke, when we spoke today? This is the first step. It does not commit us in any way, shape, or form to move forward after this step. And it's not going to cost us additional revenue if we decide not to move forward. Then there's a second step, okay? And even at that step, it's not final. We can still, again, if the rates aren't what we think they should be, or we find there's a problem down the line, we can still say no. And again, we don't lose any, it's not going to cost the citizens of Kenner any additional revenue, and money that they have to put out. So again, this is just basically an exploratory step, the first step that one has to take. And again, I'm not making a commitment of any kind, and I don't think some of the people up here are necessarily making a commitment until we have all the information we need to make an intelligent decision. And it does give us time to talk to our constituents. I think we've even spoken to the mayor that possibly we could have a meeting here and send out letters to our constituents and get together and have them give us input. And Duke, can I ask one question? These projects are not, the projects that were mentioned at some of these meetings, they're not written in stone. They can be altered, they can be changed, can they not?
Yeah, the projects are not listed specifically with specific amounts in the application to the Bond Commission. The Bond Commission is just approving the bonds. They're not approving the projects or anything of that nature.
And again, I wanted to let people know that as well, that they do have the right to have input and say, no, I don't think this project is a good one, but I think this would be fantastic, if we would look into this particular idea or that idea. So again, voting yes on this resolution does not obligate you to say or make a commitment that you're going to be in favor of necessarily, and that's the key word, necessarily, except the issuing and selling of these bonds. But again, if we don't take this first step, we might as well forget it, because then you can't do anything else.
Thank you.
I would add to that, Mr. Francis, if I might, there's no fees involved. I know people don't like attorneys, including myself. We do these transactions all the time, and we're paid in accordance with a fee schedule approved by the Attorney General. The Bond Commission looks at every dollar spent on bond issues, and they go through all of that with a fine-tooth comb and approve those. But I've worked on various transactions where we might work for several months, and for whatever reason, the market changes, or the city or parish decides they don't want to do something. So you're not paying me, you're not paying underwriters at this point. I want to make that point to you also.
It's not until that final third time.
It takes an ordinance, yes, ma'am. It takes an ordinance to incur debt.
Your mic's not on.
Money is actually dedicated.
Yes, ma'am. It takes a final ordinance to incur debt.
Your mic wasn't on at the latter part. Okay. All right. We have former, if we have no other councilman, we have former state representative from District 79, Mr. Tony Legge, that would like to speak before the council. Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, members. Mayor Yenny, Chief Caraway was here. I'm actually here wearing several hats tonight. One hat is a 30-year resident of the city of Kenner, and I hope to live here another 30 years at least. And also I'm here as a member of the Jefferson Chamber. Todd Murphy, they had their meeting tonight, so he authorized me to speak for the Jefferson Chamber. And finally, as Executive Director of the Jefferson Business Council. And my respectful suggestion to the council this evening is to please move this matter forward, pass this resolution. We all know, to say the least, that Kenner is aesthetically challenged. And we have to do what we can to move Kenner forward. It's a very competitive world out there. If we want to retain residents, if we want to gain new residents, retain businesses, gain new businesses, we need to do things to move this city forward. And I would hope that you would pass this resolution, and you see the safeguards have been testified to. This is not the end of it. There'll be plenty of opportunities to vet this thing out, but this thing needs to start moving forward this evening. And I would, again, strongly recommend, with all due respect, that this ordinance resolution pass. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know Diane appreciates having you home or close by. Thank you, Tony, for your comments. Okay, so if there's no other discussion, we'll call for, excuse me, would you like to address the council? Come on. Come on down.
Thank you, Councilman Black, and the rest of the members of the council. Dominic Impastato here, number 9 plat, Kenner 70065, District 5. I'm here on behalf of my own family, young family here in Kenner, and actually I've been here, like Mr. Legge, 30-some-odd years. Not many more than 30, but but I'm also here as a member of the Kenner Economic Development Commission, which I know all of you members of the council know. This bond, this request for the application for the bonds comes out of that economic development plan. But for the members of the community who are here who may not realize that, I think it's important for everyone to understand this plan came from a 41-member commission of 41 people from all walks of life, from Jefferson Parish and the city of Kenner, from the chairman and CEOs of 2 of the largest banks in this community, residential real estate community representatives, commercial real estate representatives, architects, doctors. Unfortunately, a couple of lawyers like me were on there. But members from all of those facets of the community were there and vetted this out over the last several years. It's been open for public comment for months upon months. As all of you said so far, the time is now. Get the process going now. If this gets deferred, every day that goes on is a day we're not able to take advantage of and move this community forward. I would ask you, members of the council, take tonight as an opportunity for all 7 of you and the members of the administration to stand together, make a statement that it's time to move the city in the direction it needs to go. I beg of you to do it. The last thing I would say, it was hot off the press, but we can't really use that term anymore, I don't think. Hot off the internet, I guess I'll say, is the editorial from the Times-Picayune, where they also were asked to vet out this plan. And one of the things we learn in court is if somebody else says it better, just plagiarize them and then cite them. So that's what I'm going to do. The closing line by the Times-Picayune was, the investments being proposed now should help make the city stronger in the future. That should make the council's support an easy decision. On behalf of the Kenner Economic Development Commission, I would ask Your Honor to agree wholeheartedly with the Times-Picayune and the members of this commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Impastato. Councilman Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to commend Mayor Yenny and the Economic Development Group that he appointed for the meetings that they've had over a year and a half to 2 years, putting together a whole 2030 plan. What's before us tonight is to set a process in motion to go to the State Bond Commission to issue $44 million worth of debt. We got this piece of legislation on Monday. Tonight is Thursday. And yes, you know, you can have meetings and have them while people are working and say it's open to the public, but this body, and me specifically, when it came to cooperative endeavor agreements, we want it advertised, we want to know what all the costs are involved, and we want to make it a transparent and collaborative process with the general public. That has not occurred. My good friend Tony Legge, nobody that I know of did more public hearings when he was a state representative than him. He got the public input. 95% of the people that this affects, they don't know really what's going on yet. I've asked this administration and I've asked my colleagues on the council to defer this so that we can go ahead and have time to survey specifically on what just was brought to us. I know people have been working on this for a while, but we didn't get the specific details till recently. And even now, we don't have all the details, and we're trying to fill some of it in with this resolution. Now, I would like at least, and ask the courtesy of my colleagues, because I intend to survey the residents in District 2, and maybe wider than that. And let me tell you why. I was the first person in 2006 and 2007 to start talking about streetscapes. And we did it with the Williams Boulevard pedestrian study. I love a lot of the projects that are in there. What we are talking about is refinancing and going into debt that would strap our children and our children's children, and taking all of that money and front load it for some projects that we want to do now. Good projects. I think what we need to figure out and ask the general public is, how are you going to finance those projects? Do you want to go that far into debt? Do you want to front load the money and leave the next mayor, the mayor after that, the mayor after that one, and their councils with not a whole lot of money to deal with and a possible disaster? What infrastructure problems are they going to have then? Is it more important to do the beautification that we're talking about, or is it more important to do infrastructure changes? Those are questions that I would like to put to my residents, to our residents. We had 9 or 10 public hearings tonight, and all of them put together didn't equal up to the amount of money we're talking about now, and they were public hearings. This is not a public hearing. So, one, I'd like to put a motion on the floor if we could delay for 2 meetings this resolution. This has been worked on for 2 years. It's finally gotten to us. I think it's our job. We're the closest to our constituents of any of the elected officials out there to do our due diligence. And I've asked my colleagues, I don't think 2 meetings is a long time since this has been worked on. The interest rates are not going to move a whole bunch. I think it's important that we allow our residents, because it will make a difference with me. I have some opinions, and I like most of everything that I've seen, but I don't want to impose my opinion on what some residents are starting to tell me, because they're mistrusting what's going on. The Crescent City tolls, they showed abuse in that program. So, one, I'd like to put a motion on the floor, if I can get a second, to delay the resolution 2 meetings so that we can either have a public hearing, or I will survey my district, because it is that important because of the debt that we are going to go out for, and then front load that debt and spend it all in a very early time period.
We have an amendment on the floor by Councilman Stagney, second by Councilman Carroll. Does anyone want to speak on the amendment for deferral? Okay, will everyone please remove their cues so that we can start all over again, so that we could have Councilman, Mayor Yenny, did you want to speak on the deferral? Well, he had his on first before everybody else. When you are chairman, I'll let you do that, okay?
You know, I just want to say that sometime last year was when we first brought up the issue to y'all, and most of y'all had the same reaction, and I respected that reaction. We agree with the bond issue. We need to see the projects. Well, the survey was done through GCR to come up with the projects early on with the whole 2030 plan through the Economic Development Committee. We met in February, and each of you walked out of my office after seeing a video presentation with the book. I don't know what's happened since the past 30 days of why that hasn't happened. Your meeting, Joe, with me was February 27th when you saw the video in the book. That was 30 days that have gone by, and I told each and every one of you and had a press conference after I met with all the council people saying I was putting this before you in early April. So you knew, you've been knowing, and I don't understand. You can deny it, Joe. You can shake your head. You can do whatever you want. We had the meeting on February 27th. I had a press conference later that week. Well, and that's fine. Over 30 days, you could have had those meetings, and you still have that opportunity, because if y'all decide the public's totally against it and you don't want to do it in 2 weeks, you can vote it down. You can vote down the approval of the bonds. But over 30 days, you've had the plan. It's been on KTV, as I've said. I stand by my statement I read earlier. This is going through members of the public. It's been in open meetings. It's been as transparent as it possibly can be. So I ask you to please support it. We've got to get this starting. If we defer this now, the one goes away 2 weeks from now, and it has to go before the Bond Commission in May. So we need to get this ball rolling. We need to get these projects started. You know, the time is now. We've got to let this city move forward, and we can't keep delaying.
Let me ask you, if I may, does this, if we do not do this tonight, you said it's going to affect the timing for go before the bonding commission?
If you don't do this tonight, and Ken Scheck-Snyder can come up here and explain that
I think he explained that.
He can do it again. What happens is, if this is deferred tonight, the one 2 weeks from now goes away because you can't approve the sale of the bonds because it hasn't gone before the bond commission. We're asking it to go before the bond commission. We have 2 weeks to vet this process out, and y'all can vote. Y'all will have the approval to vote for the bonds.
Okay.
So.
This is, okay, if you want to repeat that again, Mr. Scheck-Snyder.
Did a great job.
Okay. Councilwoman Brannigan, wait, we have, you want to speak on the deferral? Okay, there you go.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Let's calm down for a second. This is, the good news is we are not approving the projects tonight. So we have time, and we've had time to go out and discuss with constituents or anybody who may just start getting wind of this, because it's coming on tonight, and everybody thought tonight was the night we were voting to, you know, do whatever it is that they think is going to happen. We've heard from incurring, you know, paying off old debt with new debt, and we've heard doing projects that they didn't want. None of that is happening tonight. So the good news is,
the sky is not falling.
The sky is not falling. All of our fears are not, or anybody who has a fear about what's about to happen, it's not happening tonight. When we do projects, and I'm going to use the last projects we did, I guess, was in District 4, where we have to put things in place for things to happen. We have businesses that want to come here, so we have to create taxing districts. We don't have to. We've chosen to do these types of tax districts so that we can attract businesses to come here. And everybody hears, oh, something's coming here. And then when it doesn't come the next month, they're like, what happened? Did y'all fail? This is what takes to do business, is that you have to go through processes to open the door for economic development. And if we don't start a process, we're not approving debt, we're not approving projects, we're not saying it's beautification, we're not saying it's, all of those things that were brought to us were ideas that have been formulated over a process, but nobody up here is approving any of those things. So tonight is simply putting in motion an idea and laying the groundwork so that in the event, if in a couple weeks, or if we defer that, in a couple more weeks, we do decide to go forward with this process, we are prepared to do so. So I just want to calm everybody down, just like we do when we do other types of legislation to promote future economic development. That's all we're doing tonight. It's a resolution. It's nothing binding. And for those who don't know what I'm saying, a resolution is simply a request. It is not, has no force of law. It is not us approving any expenditures. We're not spending one penny by requesting that we take this idea forward. And I would challenge all the council members and the administration, because we've gotten those phone calls of people concerned about that they're just starting to hear about this, to start having those conversations, because we all think it's very important to be transparent. We all think it's important to have this type of dialogue with the citizens. But this is not, this action tonight, those conversations can happen later and it's not too late. Okay, so there's no purpose in deferring it, because all it's doing is allowing us, if we want to, in the future, do this, then we're prepared. Okay, so let's not get the public worked up that we are moving forward and spending any money or doing anything that they don't feel comfortable with. And I bet you, because this happens all the time, it happened before I was on the council, once people do hear and once people are educated, the fear goes away and the vision is then clear. Because I think, and we'll have time to talk about that later, so I'm not going to belabor it, I think that everybody thinks something needs to happen. So this is setting in motion for us to have an opportunity to do something in the future. Okay?
Thank you, Ms. Brannigan. Councilman Reyno.
Thank you, Madam President.
On deferral.
On deferral. If we choose to do nothing on this, we've made this application as far as the bond refinancing, is this still an application that's available to refinance the existing bonds at a lower interest rate? Let's say we don't do anything, but we can still, with this application, reduce the interest rate on the existing bonds. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a two-part resolution, actually. It's a new money and a refunding series, so you could just choose to do the refunding. Just to let you guys know, the Bond Commission has special guidelines that, or special deadlines that we have to follow in order to get on their agenda. We provided a lot of documentation to the Bond Commission to date. They've allowed us, assuming you guys would adopt this tonight, they allowed us to be on their April agenda meeting. So a lot of work is going into it. They have analysts up there that we've explained the program to extensively. If we defer this tonight, we start all over, and then we go into May. So we're going to start from scratch.
Oh, and the amount of existing bonds that we have and the term left on that, which I know what it is, but I'd like to put it on there.
Yeah, the existing bonds have 5 years to go. They mature in 2018, and we have about a little over 14 million outstanding on those bonds.
Okay, and lowering the interest rate, if we didn't do anything, we just lowered the interest rate, do you have any idea what the savings would be to the city?
It would be about $200,000 a year.
Okay. And I'm making that point because, again, we're not obligating anything, but by starting this process, let's say everybody says we should do nothing. We at least have this process in place to, at worst case, refinance these bonds and save the city $200,000
a year.
A year.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Denopoulos, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
On deferral.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, I mean, I'm letting the people, the District 5 know that me voting for 13A is not, I'm not agreeing to any of the projects. I'm not agreeing to spending a dollar of any taxpayer money. I'm just allowing this administration, you know, to go forward with getting me some information, whether I want to save $200,000 a year, okay, or I want to borrow money for some worthwhile projects that are in my district. And, you know, I have time to get information out to my district, okay, before I even approve any of the funding of this. Remember, this council here, you know, passed a charter change that we have to approve anything over $100,000. And let me tell you, there's not one project in this program, it's millions, okay? So it's gonna come before us for a vote, okay? So, I mean, I do have, you know, the ability to voice the opinion of my district and say no to any of those projects, okay? So I'm not taking my district out of the equation by voting for this, okay? Because I'm definitely going to have, you know, a public gathering in my district to find out exactly. And I can tell you, and I've already talked to the administration, they love the idea of the improvements on Loyola. They just want to see a little more money spent at the city park. It's a little underutilized, and I think somewhere along the line there's going to be a balance. Now, what's the good thing about my district is that they are active civic associations, and they are aware of what's going on with this bond money, okay? But I you know, in voting for this tonight, you know, I don't see the deferral. I'm not committing to anything other than a process. Okay, so and as Councilman Moreno said, that the worst case scenario, we could possibly save the city $200,000 a year. I don't see the substance for this deferral at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Mike Quigley.
Just for the sake of talking about when we went public with this, I just want to talk about the Advocate had a major article about it back in October. Kenner Star had a major article about it in November. The mayor had a press conference. I know both the Times-Picayune, Advocate were there. We had TV stations. It was on TV. We've been, you know, we have a show on KTV. So we know we've been talking about this for an extensive amount of time. It's been well publicized, Times-Picayune, Advocate, case, Kenner Star. So from the viewpoint of the public not knowing about it, I mean, just from the amount of comments that come out through NOLA.com and everything, there's definitely, you know, people have definitely know about the program and what's within the program. So again, we urge y'all to go to the Bond Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Quigley. Mr. Francis, you have the floor.
Thank you. First of all, I have to mention that Councilman Dinopoulos and I and Councilman Reyno, from the time he got elected, have attended. I know I've attended every single meeting of the Economic Development Committee. I know he has since he's been in office, and I know Councilman Dinopoulos has been sitting right next to me at those meetings as well. So we have been intimately involved in getting as much information for our districts as possible. And so in referring to the deferral, let me just say, we're talking about 2 weeks till the next meeting. We have 2 weeks if we feel, and I'm going to be contacted, even though I've spoken at every civic organization meetings for the last 2 years and tried to get input from the people in my district, I will be continuing within the next 2 weeks, since we've started since we're possibly starting the first step, to get additional information about whether they even want us to do anything other than what Councilman Reyno and I discussed earlier this afternoon with Mr. McConnell, and that is that we will be saving money, period. Not adding to the debt, not adding 1 year to it, not adding more cost, nothing. We can still save at least $200,000 a year, even if we choose to do nothing. So when you look at it that way, why would we want to defer? When you have 2 more weeks to talk to your constituents, send out either by emails, send out flyers, put them in your neighborhoods like I'm doing on another issue right now. We have 2 weeks. And let's say at the end of the 2 weeks, you say to yourself, you know, I've made every effort to contact people in my district, and I haven't been totally successful. I didn't have the time to have as many meetings as I thought I should have. In 2 weeks, the ordinance comes up, okay? You can then say, I want a deferral on that ordinance. I don't want to vote on the ordinance yet. But it doesn't put us a month behind. It only puts us 1 meeting behind, 2 weeks behind. So you still have another opportunity in 2 weeks if you have not had enough time to talk to your constituents, if you haven't had enough time to talk, to have meetings, you can still defer it at the next meeting and still do your due diligence for your constituents. I am not committing to vote for the ordinance. Let me make that plain. What I'm doing is giving the administration and this city the opportunity to take the first step so that we can have the time to talk to our people and make sure that we're all on the same page. So we can talk to the administration and each other to talk about projects that would be in the best interest of this community. But again, why would we not want to at least start the dialogue? Because that's all this is a dialogue. It is not a commitment. And why are we afraid of talking to each other and to the Bond Commission about what procedures we would have to follow? What could possibly be the interest rate when we move forward, if we move forward with these bonds, I should say? Why are we afraid to even explore it? There are many things I've decided to look into and decided against, that I wasn't going to buy a different house, that I wasn't going to spend more money on investing in X, Y, and Z. But did that mean that I shouldn't explore the possibility? Why would we want to stagnate? Why would we not want to be open-minded and look forward and talk to each other and make the best vote we can for the people of this city? So as far as the deferral, I don't see a point at this moment to have a deferral. If in 2 weeks our council people feel they haven't had enough time, let them bring it up again and ask for deferral then, and they'll have more time. But this is not the time because the resolution has no force of law, as Ms. Brannigan stated. It has no force of law whatsoever. It is a dialogue that we're entering into with the Bond Commission, basically. Thank you.
Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. And first, I would like to thank the business community, the administration, for coming and explaining the information to the council today and to the citizens of Kenner. Like Councilwoman DeFrancis said, a yes vote doesn't mean you're going to vote for it, nor by me saying that I would want to defer it doesn't mean I'm against it. It doesn't mean that. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, and then the mayor is correct, we did have 30 days to be able to address this information and to vet it and to get it out. Well, maybe 30 days is enough for everyone up here. I can't speak for that, but I am not held responsible for the people up here. I'm responsible for the people within District 1. And if it's my opinion that I still need more time to get more information, or maybe just my personality, maybe I'm moving a little bit slower, that is what I have to live with. Because I represent the people, and I alone, based on the people up here, they're my friends and all, but I know how things work through District 1. I have the most gerrymandered district within the city. We have South Kenner, we have the people along Mendon, we have Lincoln Manor, we have Veterans Park, we have Susan Park, and the people on Loyola. Now, it may seem simple that information gets out like that, even to the Times-Picayune or the Advocate or the Kenner Star, and it does get out to some people, but not at the pace that I'm comfortable with right now. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm against anything. Actually, Mr. Bro and I had a conversation from the Times-Picayune, it's in the paper. He and I had a fantastic conversation. You were able to read some of my comments about, I never said I was against anything. But what I said was based on the citizens that I represent in District 1, and the president keep me to talk about just the ordinance, the resolution, that's what I'm talking about. And that's all I'm saying. Now, we may disagree on this, and if we do, then so be it. We're still gonna be friends and all, but this is just my opinion based on the pulse for the people that I represent. And that's where I'm at right now. If whatever happens with this, the council decides at the end of the day, I will support it after it, but I may not support the direction and the pace that they're doing right now. But once it's become law and we have to deal with the ordinance of it, I will do my duty as that. So there is no negative feelings on my behalf. There is nothing against the mayor, the administration, or any of my colleagues. All I'm saying is, it is, in my opinion, I did second the deferral, and I feel comfortable with that. If my colleagues don't, then we're going to see tonight. But I just wanted to make that clear that that's where I'm at with this. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Hearing no other, anyone else want to speak? I'm sorry. You're speaking on deferral only, ma'am, and please give your name and address.
My name is Connie Zimmerman. I'm at 2453 Taffy Drive in Kenner. I would like to wholeheartedly support the deferral. And the reason for that is because I have only recently been following politics, but I do see as what some people call it, as a machine. And when something gets put into motion, sometimes the outcome is very bad for the average citizen. And as a citizen, I have a lot of questions, and I would like an opportunity to talk to my councilman, Councilman Stagney, of which I'm very grateful that you're my councilman right now. And so I wholeheartedly support the deferral as a citizen of Kenner.
Thank you, Ms. Zimmerman.
Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane in Kenner. I would also like to ask the council to defer this. It sounds to me like it is being rushed. When I heard these other two gentlemen say a few minutes ago that they had made some sort of special arrangements for the bond commission to take this up in their April meeting, alarm bells went off to me. It just seems like this is being fast-tracked. It can go before the bond commission at any time. It might be May, it might be June, but I'm a bit uneasy about us proceeding with something when we're not even sure we want to do it. And I do have to take issue. Well, first off, I fully understand you're not voting on the ordinance to actually issue the bonds tonight. I'm well aware of that. But this does start the process. But I do disagree strongly with the claims I've heard made that if we just do nothing but refinance the existing indebtedness of $14 million, that it will save the city money, will save $200,000 a year or so. If we pay it off in just 5 years, yes, it may. But if we refinance it as part of this whole package, which is the plan, it's going to add $3 or $4 million to the debt. It's not going to save money. The $14 million we owe now is going to cost.
Well, so you are opposed to the deferral?
The deferral. This point was raised by people who were speaking.
Thank you. We will discuss that when it comes up for final passage.
So I do support the deferral.
Thank you.
And just think this is on a fast track. I think it should wait until we know what we want to do.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Benetti, will you stop running in the halls?
Thank you, Councilwoman. Walt Benetti, 3009 Illinois Avenue in Councilman Stagney's district. I appreciate Councilman Stagney for offering this deferral and Councilman Carroll for seconding it. I think it's prudent to defer this, and the reason why is there are so many questions out there. There is so much information and a lack of so much information on the part of our citizens. There has been no real polling by any of you as far as your constituents go. I don't know that 2 weeks is going to be enough time to print and mail and get back a direct mail piece from your constituents providing feedback on these projects, or the fact that they even want to go into more debt and increase the city's debt by 32%. The fact remains that you were elected to represent the interest of your districts. You, councilwomen at large, were elected to represent the interest of the entire city, not 40 people on an economic development committee, not the business community.
Stick to the deferral, please.
Yes, no, I am. So I would appreciate the fact that you would take the time to get feedback now from your constituents. Take that time, provide them with the information, solicit input, get that feedback back, and then decide.
Okay.
And then move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Stagney to close.
Thank you, Madam President. I started by thanking the mayor and his Economic Development Committee, and I'm passionate about making sure that what we do it in a transparent, collaborative fashion with our public. The fact that it goes on and we are starting the process. You know, they have an application at the Bond Commission already. They're moving forward. I look at this as a slap in the face to the numerous amount of citizens who are not cognizant of what's going on. And as Councilman Carroll said, it doesn't mean I'm against anything. I talked to Mr. Broach as well, and he can't tell you I said one thing negative. But you got to have the process that you include the public the way you have the administration and his hand-picked Economic Development Committee. You can't just throw it on the agenda and act as if we just have to rubber stamp it and move on. We need to take the time to inform our citizenry. This is a big issue, and the big issue before us is the $44 million that are going to the Bond Commission. Yeah, we don't have to do it. It's like the tax increases. You didn't have to put as much on, but we did. You're starting the process prematurely. And that's my issue. The mayor gets upset if I question something. It's nothing against the mayor. I'm trying to do what I think I was elected to do on behalf of the citizens, on behalf of the taxpayers. Now, I know how the vote's going to go down with this, but it's still my job to do it. And when it comes to holding public hearings for something this important, that goes this far into the future, when you're taking that much money from future generations and wanting to spend it now, they deserve some time to digest it. And holding press conferences or being invited to something doesn't mean they're always going to show up. But I think I have to do my due diligence, and I'll continue to do that in the best way I can. Madam President, I'm closing, but I still have time, and I have one other issue with this resolution, if you don't mind, after we vote.
Sure. You have an amendment? Because you're the last speaker.
No, I'm going to continue to have the floor after the vote goes down the way it goes down on the next issue. I put up an amendment. I still have the floor. We're going to vote, and then I just want to finish up on...
That's mostly regular, because once you vote, the procedure is closed. Am I correct on that, Mr. Connolly? Yes. Once you vote on an issue, it's a moot point.
All right, the second issue I have, and I won't put out an amendment on it, but we have talked about doing things on a competitive basis. Inside this resolution,
but you do have to speak on the deferral. And
I'm closing on the deferral, and I'll say why I think I should.
And then when it comes up for final passage.
That's fine. I'll just say it now.
That's
the other reason I want to defer it is not only because the public should be involved. Secondly, we have inserted in this legislation a bond counsel and underwriters, both of which that will be paid more than the amount that we put on the ballot for the charter change. Those contracts should have come before us before this, and at the state level, the state requires that 99.9% of the underwriters and the bond counsels have to be selective on a competitive basis. Now, I'm not saying that has to be done locally, but I think that would be in the best interest of our taxpayers as well. So I'm closing. I would ask for a deferral. Thank you, Madam President.
Now, point of order here. Mr. Connolly, you have your light on to speak. You want to take, okay. All right. So the matter on the floor right now is for a 2-week deferral. Here, 2 meeting or 2 week?
I think I had said 2 meeting.
2 meeting deferral. So it's a 1-month deferral, basically. 10 meeting deferral? No, it's a 2 meeting deferral, a 28-day deferral. Okay. Please vote on deferral.
Madam Chairman, motion fails. Council members Black, Rayno, Brannigan, DeFrances, and Annapolis are opposed.
On the legislation that is up before us right now, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-2. Council members Stagney and Carroll opposed. Item 13B is a resolution requesting the Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority to refund its outstanding revenue bonds, Kenner Road Project Series 2003, authorizing the incurring debt and other matters in connection therewith.
A motion by Councilwoman DeFrancis, second by Councilman Reyno. Councilwoman DeFrancis, you have the floor.
Actually, I want to give the floor right now to Duke McConnell because I think he needs to explain exactly what this resolution is all about, because I think there are a lot of people that are not sure exactly what it says. So if you don't mind, Mr. McConnell, if you could explain it.
Yeah, 13B is also going to the Bond Commission, approval to go to the Bond Commission to refinance a loan we have from Louisiana Community Development Authority. This was also issued in 2003, also matures in 2018. On this one, all we're asking is to refinance it for the same period that we have remaining. We have 5 years remaining. We're asking to refinance it for the same 5 years we have remaining at a lower interest rate, which will save the city about $60,000 a year for the remaining 5 years.
I want to make this very clear. We are not extending the life.
We're not extending it, not asking for any
Not
additional
one
money
day
up front.
more.
Nothing.
Okay.
We're refinancing exactly what we have for the same period, just at a lower interest rate.
So what we're actually doing is saving the citizens of Kenner money. Is that not correct by doing
Save
this?
$60,000
Without
a year.
increasing, wait, excuse me, without increasing the debt, without
Right.
doing one other thing. All we're doing is saving the people of Kenner money, correct?
Correct.
And how much money can we save them by doing that and not extending it one more day?
We'll save $60,000 a year.
So this is like getting $60,000 put into the budget without increasing the debt balance, correct?
Correct.
Without increasing the time in which, you know, this bond will, before this bond comes to fruition, correct?
Correct. Correct.
So the only thing we're doing is taking advantage of the lower interest rate by saying, give us a better rate, because it's out there, all right?
Right. That's correct.
And therefore, give us some money back. That's basically a simplified version of it. It is not costing anyone one penny. It is not extending the time for the bond to be in place. It is not increasing the debt balance. This is a no-brainer. This is a benefit to the people of Kenner. It is good for the people of Kenner, and I can't see why anyone would be against it.
Correct. That's correct.
Thank you.
Councilman Reyno, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This is just being good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. It's going to save $300,000 over the course of the remaining 5 years on these bonds. At the end of 5 years, these bonds are paid off. All you're doing is lowering the interest rate. Like Councilman DeFrancis said, this is a no-brainer. I mean, you know, if you owned your own house and you could, you know, refinance it at a lower interest rate and keep the term the same, anybody would do that. So this is, I'm for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Stagney, you want to defer this, you said?
No, ma'am. Thank you, Madam President. This is the LCDA outstanding debt that does not extend the maturity date at all. So it is a simple refinancing that most everybody would do. Unlike bonding out for 25 years, this simply, the maturity date is 2018. There will be some savings within this. The only question I would ask, and I'd ask, you know, how, again, we selected the bond counsel and the underwriters for these things. These are different projects. The State Bond Commission on the previous legislation and this one, they typically require at the state level that those entities do their contracts by project. So I'll be supporting this because this is just simply refinancing the debt at a lower interest rate and not extending the debt beyond the life of what we use that for. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Stagney. Councilman Denopoulos.
Can I respond to Mr. Stagney?
Sorry.
The way the LCDA is set up, Mr. Stagney, you all are not employing me. The LCDA is the issuer of those bonds, and we're on an approved list they use. And so you all can recommend or not recommend, but the LCDA actually hires and decides who the bond counsel and underwriters are in connection, because they're the issuer. It's more like a bank loan situation for you all. They issue the bonds, you all borrow the money from them, from the bond proceeds. So I understand your concern, but the hiring language in this is merely a resolution, as Ms. Brannigan said, which isn't law. The LCDA can do what they'd like.
Sure. Oh, I have to do that, huh? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. No, in Section 6 and Section 7, the Kenner City Council are recommending these entities. So I'm sure that the Bond Commission is going to select it because the resolution came from this body. So
They do and they don't. I mean, you're not asking the Bond Commission. You're requesting that the LCDA hire us. My point being, we do a lot of other issues for the LCDA, whether or not the city or parish recommends that we do it. It's an independent state body. So I understand your concern.
Okay, let me, Mr. Becknell, on this and the last one, isn't Miss Betty with your firm, didn't she already put in an application with the State Bond Commission on both of these?
This one's being done on behalf of the LCDA. On the previous one, what Mr. Schexnayder was talking about is we requested that the Bond Commission allow us not to lose an entire month, subject to what you all decide. So there's an application on file that is not firmed up with the Bond Commission yet.
And that application that you sent in, it has the figures that your firm will be paid?
And I couldn't even tell you what they are without pulling
That's
the
okay.
file.
That's the other piece of legislation. Thank you, Mr. Becknell. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilman, anything further? Councilman Denopoulos, do you have the floor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have the mic. Thank you. Well, basically, I mean, we're doing what a lot of homeowners did here in Kenner. We're taking advantage of low interest rates. I mean, I refinanced my house. I mean, and I had a choice. I had a choice whether I wanted to extend it longer, or do I want to extend it shorter, or do I want to borrow into the value of my home, okay? And this is no difference, okay? We're taking advantage, and both 13A and 13B have those elements in it where we can take advantage of the low interest rates that are out there on the market, okay? And I think it's good, prudent work on the council and the administration. You know, if we can get a low interest rate and save $60,000 a year, man, this is good work. This is what we're elected to do, and like you said, you know, we have to be the keepers of the public checkbook, and this is how we keep records of, you know, keep the public checkbook. We're trying to save the money and put that money in the projects and not just waste it away on futile interest rates. So, you know, I'll be supporting this. This is just good legislation. It's good house cleaning. Thank you.
Thank you, and I agree. I venture to say that practically everybody up here has refinanced their home at one time. Believe me, and we run this city the way it's our own checkbook. So, you know, we're not going to do anything that's going to hurt the city or defame it in any way, and it's just a way of saving money, and it's a good measure to do so. So I'm going to be supporting it also. Hearing no other discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 11,495, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of office furniture from the Hahn Company in the amount of $12,995.35 through state contract number 408247 for the Department of Community Development.
Motion by Councilman Brannigan, second by Councilwoman Black. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 11,496, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Lamarck Ford, an authorized dealer, in the amount of $6,900 to replace the long block assembly and motor for 2008 Ford F-250, Unit 5069, for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman, who was it, Stagney?
Yes.
Second by Councilman Carroll. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 11,497. An ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Han Enterprises Incorporated in the amount of $20,650 to remove the existing rubber safety surfacing and to furnish and install new pour-in-place safety surfacing at Lake Town Tot Lot in accordance with seal bid number 12-6127 for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilman Reno, second by Councilwoman Brannigan. Councilman Reno, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Maricoli, can you just kind of go over what this is? And
yeah, at the last meeting, we approved the tot lot equipment to be replaced, and this is the surfacing that goes underneath the tot lot equipment. So once we replace the tot lot equipment, we'll be able to put a new surface down to make sure it meets all fall standards and everything that needs to be done.
And the time frame to do this?
Well, first, once obviously the ordinance passes, we're going to give the notice to proceed for the tot lot equipment first, which that's basically why we had the 2 weeks separate on that. So I would probably venture to say that within the next 30 days, we'll be given a notice to proceed on that.
Okay, and all of the funds used to replace both the tot lot equipment and the rubber surface is all coming from the Lake Town Fund, which is the hotel motel tax, which is dedicated to Lake Town. Thank you.
Thank you. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15D is summary ordinance number 11,507. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of 950 DARE T-shirts at a cost of $6,293.75 from Creative Product Sourcing Incorporated, sole source provider for the Kenner Police Department.
Motion by Councilman DeFrancis, second by Councilman Reno. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15E is summary ordinance number 11,508. An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the lowest responsive bid of Barrier Construction Company, LLC, received March 13, 2013, by the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development in the amount of $458,251.56 for Veterans Boulevard Overlay, Phase 1, Sharon Street to Salem Street, State Project Number H007213, Kenner Public Works Number 2011-003-ST.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilwoman Brannigan. Please vote.
We don't have a screen, Matt.
Waiting for a screen to come up for voting.
You had somebody in your queue? Did you want to talk?
Oh, Councilman Denopoulos. Sorry, you just put that on?
Thank you. Yeah, I hit my thing. I was just kind of waiting. By the way, I want to thank Councilman Carroll. I mean, once again, he's doing, a lot of improvements just right outside my district, which will definitely help the traffic flow in my district as well. And Councilman Carroll, you're doing a wonderful job, and the residents of District 5 really thank you.
All the comedians out of work. Councilman Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you for the compliment, Councilman Denopoulos. I appreciate that, and like everyone, for the support on this. Mr. Gonzalez, could you please just give us a little information on this particular monies and the project? What stages are we in now, and when should we expect it to be completed, if it has started?
This is phase 1 of another federal aid project very similar to the one that we just completed on I-10 and Loyola and the resurfacing of VET between Salem and Virginia. Okay, the project was bid by the state. It's an 80-20 project, meaning that the federal government will pick up 80% of the construction costs and local government will pick up the 20% difference. It calls for the resurfacing of Veterans Boulevard and adding shoulders on both sides of the street. This is phase 1. Phase 2 is currently about 95% design complete, and it will call for resurfacing of vets and the construction of a new bridge, over the Butler Canal. And that project is probably going to be bid during the latter part of this year. It's also federal aid on an 80-20 basis.
Well, thank you very much. And this is, we started the project in Phase 1. This will obviously enhance the road conditions in this area along District 1 and 5, and for all the businesses. And this area will be highly visible and traveled within the next coming year with the different things that are going to be happening at the airport in the area. So we look forward to the thing that's going to be happening here. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Thank you, Mr. President.
And thank you, Mr. Carroll, for having this, because since Ms. Brannigan and I represent the entire city, this is going to help all of our constituents travel better down that corridor. So
You're correct, and I'll be sure to send a request in for additional funds in this area.
Try and get it. Okay, thank you, and we will now vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15F is summary ordinance number 11,509, an ordinance authorizing a cost per copy lease agreement with U.S. Copy Incorporated for photocopy, fax, printing equipment, maintenance, parts, labor, and supplies for a term of 3 years, and ratifying necessary interim charges for the Kenner Police Department.
Motion by Councilwoman DeFrancis, second by Councilman Denopoulos. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is summary ordinance number 11,510, an ordinance granting to TW Telecom of Louisiana, LLC, a non-exclusive revocable license to install, operate, maintain, repair, and replace fiber optic cable and/or coaxial cable and associated equipment for voice, data, and video transmission service in and around city buildings located at 500 Veterans Boulevard, KPD Headquarter Complex, 1939 Reverend Richard Wilson Drive, KPD Training Facility, and 1801 Williams Boulevard, City Hall Complex, and providing for related matters. Item 16B is summary ordinance number 11,511, an ordinance authorizing the borrowing of funds from the Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority, LCDA, to provide for refinancing by the LCDA of its outstanding revenue bonds, Kenner Road Project Series 2003, prescribing the form, fixing the details, and providing for the payment thereof, entering into certain covenants and agreements in connection with the security and payment of said debt, authorizing and approving the execution of a loan agreement with LCDA, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Item 16C is an ordinance amending and supplementing ordinance number 5848, adopted May 7th, 1978, as amended and restated and readopted on July 7th, 1994, the General Bond Ordinance, providing for the issuance of sales tax bonds, Series 2003, of the City of Kenner, State of Louisiana, pursuant to the General Bond Ordinance, prescribing the form, fixing the details, and providing for the payment of principal of and interest on such bonds and the application of the proceeds thereof, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Item 16D is an ordinance accepting the lowest bid received from Simsco Incorporated for a 2-year contract not to exceed $100,000 per year to supply PVC pipe and fittings for the City of Kenner on an as-needed basis for the City of Kenner. Item 16E is an ordinance ratifying the agreement with SMG to provide management services for the Pontchartrain Center, Convention and Civic Center. Item 16F is an ordinance ratifying an engineering agreement with Hartman Engineering Incorporated, consultant for professional engineering services associated with the design and construction administration of improvements to the Kenner-Hanson City Sewer Lift Stations number 4102 and 4103, task number 1, and design/construction administration of a new force main extension from lift station number 4103 to lift station number 4106, 10th and Maria, task number 2, for a total fee of $204,515 for council districts number 1 and 2. Item 16G is an ordinance ratifying proposals from AMRISC LP with certain underwriters at Lloyd's of London, Indian Harbor Insurance Company, QBE Specialty Insurance Company, Steadfast Insurance Company, for commercial property insurance at a cost not to exceed $423,150, and from Landmark American Insurance Company for the excess property insurance at a cost not to exceed $115,500 for the period of June 1st, 2013 through June 1st, 2014. Item 16H is an ordinance ratifying the United Healthcare policy and rates for health insurance coverage for the City of Kenner employees/retirees/dependents for the fiscal year July 1st, 2013 through June 30th, 2014, as set forth in their proposal. Item 16I is an ordinance amending Ordinance 9554 regarding athletic facility booking policies. Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees.
Yes, we have Councilman Stagney. Oh, excuse me, you don't have your cue on, and Councilman Brannigan was before you, so I will give the floor to Councilman Brannigan.
Ladies first.
Trying to. There you go. Councilman Brannigan. Your mic's on.
Oh, I didn't know why you didn't just put me up in the queue.
I couldn't, because I had hit the wrong button.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Earlier, during the prayer, I had on my mind that there was somebody that we had lost in the city of Kenner that I had wanted to mention, and I mean, you saw that I was at a loss for words, and it was somebody that somebody had told me that had passed, and it had really upset me. And it wasn't until after the prayer that I remembered who it was, so I wanted to be able to talk about her for just a moment. I got a call from my daughter last week and said, "Mom, I just found out that Miss Jerry passed away." Now, Miss Jerry owned Jerry's Snowballs on Williams Boulevard for years and years and years. And of course, she didn't know what had happened. She had just heard the news, and she was just devastated. She goes, "Mom, I feel like that's really somebody, that's part of my childhood, was growing up there and going after all of our baseball games." And my daughter's 24, so this goes back a long time. We'd go get snowballs there, and Miss Jerry always knew everybody's name. She always remembered the last time you'd been there. She even knew what kind of flavor snowball you got. So she was a business owner in Kenner for such a long time. And I'm so embarrassed that I did not remember to mention her. But Miss Jerry of Jerry's Snowballs passed away, and I know a lot of people who are regulars already knew that. But I wanted to take a moment to remember her and to pray for her family, who was always helping her at the snowball stand. I have not gone by there to see if they were back open, and I was not in town to be able to attend the services, but I will let the family know how much Miss Jerry meant to my daughter, which is just one of many, many children who have had a similar experience. And we're so glad for her to have been a part of our community, and we grieve with her family. Yes, her name was Geraldine Risser Chauvin Jones, and she was a resident of Kenner and known as the beloved snowball lady of Jerry's Snowball Express. So I'm trying to see in the obituary when she passed, but anyway, it was within the last week or so, and so I wanted to make mention and explain why my thoughts during the prayer, because it was somebody I knew, and I knew it was District 5 because she had lived over there, and I knew it was somebody I wanted to mention. So Miss Jerry, rest in peace, and thank you for your contributions to our community. Let's see, let me see. Okay, well, doesn't have the date, but thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Madam President. Several nights ago, we had a Paths to Progress meeting here in the council chambers regarding Williams Boulevard, West Metairie, Williams Boulevard from Airline to Reverend Wilson Drive, West Metairie from Williams to Roosevelt, Roosevelt Boulevard from Airline in different segments all the way up to Veterans Boulevard. The proposed construction date is supposed to be April 8th, and it's going to cost $1.9 million, and the contractor is Bow Brothers. Mr. Gonzalez, can you tell us a little bit, myself, Councilman Carroll here, and we had 80 people or so. We had a nice crowd, sometimes focused on something other than the streets that we were talking about, but give us an idea of what's going to be done, and we met out there, I think, today, regarding maybe something I'd have to do drainage-wise.
That's
But give
correct.
us an overview, if you don't mind, to the other residents who couldn't make the meeting.
Well, I'm going to give you an overview of the entire program itself, but I'm going to key on the ones that we met on, okay? That's one group of several groups of projects that are part of the Paths to Progress program, totaling somewhere in the neighborhood of $23, $25 million worth of work. This particular group covered the major thoroughfares that you mentioned, West Metairie between Williams and Roosevelt. That particular project under this program, it calls for the removal and replacement of damaged concrete panels and an overlay of the roadway. Okay, that's the main, along with, of course, the necessary striping and any crosswalks that may exist out there. The one on Roosevelt covers the area between Airline Drive and Veterans. That particular project is primarily the removal and replacement of all damaged concrete panels. And as part of that project, they're going to be doing a lot of wheelchair ramps. And it also, of course, calls for all necessary striping. The one on Williams Boulevard between Airline Drive and Jefferson Highway or 3rd Street is primarily a coal mill and overlay, which is, nothing but a resurfacing job. And so that's what it calls for. And of course, it would be restriped based on what we have out there. But this is just 3 projects of many projects that are going to be going on throughout the city of Kenner, and starting, this month and probably going on for the next 6 months. About it?
No, wonderful. Extensive road work done in our city. Just want the residents to know, our citizens, pardon our progress, but we're working hard to try to fix these streets. So we appreciate it, Mr. Gonzalez. Appreciate Mr. Carroll being there. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Councilman Reno.
Thank you, Madam President. Brad Bohannon came to me a couple of weeks ago and said, hey, I have a Nashville singer-songwriter that's going to be in town on April 20th. Do you know anybody that we could do a fundraiser for? He's willing to do a comp show. So we met with the Gary Rucker with the Rivertown Theaters, and he's agreed to do a show that's going to benefit the theater, renovating the inside of the theater, and they've done a lot on the inside. It's one night only, Saturday, April 20th at 8 p.m. Tickets are $10 in advance, $15 at the door. You can visit www.rivertowntheaters.com. It's an evening with Win Varble, as a country western singer-songwriter from Nashville. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, and all the proceeds go to the Rivertown Theater. Again, it's to help them renovate the inside of the theater, and they have a lot of ideas. So it's it's a good cause, and it'll be a great show.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Reno. Councilman Carroll, I'm sure you want to talk about the Italian Fest this weekend, huh?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, I do, about the Italian Fest, and actually a couple of more things that are going on within District 1. Obviously, the first, as Councilman Stagney and Mr. Gonzalez stated, about the path to progress. I'd like to, thank you for coming, Councilman Stagney, all the people that showed up, and also Ms. Genova Coleman, who is part of the Hawthorne Agency that is facilitating the information to the public. And there will be other projects for this within District 1, and we look forward to all of the additions and improvements to our roadways.
So that was a public hearing you had in your district about the paths to progress?
Actually, it was here at the council.
Oh, here, yeah.
Yeah, just because the projects right now are related to District 1 and 2, and it focused on the residents that live within District 1 and 2, and business owners, which is mainly down Williams Boulevard. So everybody was well informed and look forward to it. That's the first thing. The second thing is, as we all know, on March 25th, we had an incident in District 1 relating with the railroad.
Railroad.
And if Ms. Teresa can put the pictures up. Really? As someone that has lived next to the railroad his entire life, cars pass every day since I've been a little boy that, all kind of chemicals, and even longer for Jeannie, who used to live in District 1. We actually live in an area that these trains passed us, and we are not really conscious of all of the killer things that happen to pass by. We were talking a couple of meetings ago about the signage for the railroad tracks that stop people from crossing the track, but these are incidents that we as citizens have no control over. And as you can view the pictures, this was an incident that on the 25th, around 3:30, 3:45, that could have been real bad, but fortunately, no one was injured. The rail cars did turn over, as you can see, and the material on the cars were cold. So the rail cars went over, the coal went over, no one was around there. And as growing up, part of what we would do was walk along the railroad tracks. Had any of the children been walking along at this particular day, something bad could have happened. So this is part of where we live, and we have to live with it. It's part of what happened. So, and we are accustomed to that, but you never get accustomed to these incidents, and unfortunately, it will always be something. I'd like to thank Mr. Doug Doe for his response to this, thank the fire department and the police department and the public works department, Mr. Jared Dillenkoffer, Mr. Gonzalez, who were on the scene along with the mayor, to be able to come out and talk to the citizens who live in this particular area. Now, that being said, the process for cleaning this up has started. We don't have the reasons why this happened. We were anticipating this, but I can tell you that the railroad responsible is Canadian National. This is the railroad that will be held, accountable for getting this fixed along this area. They have started the process, which is going in a fast paced, and all of the residents can appreciate that. There still are cars on the playground, which is the Bessie Hammond playground, that has to be addressed because this is a safety concern. But there is a bigger concern from talking to the residents in that area as it relates to the Canadian National, and that is the event happened, they responded to it, but there was very little communication or very little empathy for someone from the organization to come into the neighborhood and to address and to ask, how are you doing? Is there anything that happened? How can we help? And to let the citizens know what's going on, what can they do to help. No one came in, not one person came in to talk to anyone in the neighborhood. Even to the point when they were doing the cleanup, they literally blocked the streets without telling anyone that they were going to block it. So this caused an inconvenience. So while the residents are happy that they're cleaning it up, you would think that someone would have come from somewhere to talk to the residents to give them a sense of assurance that what had happened, how long the process will be to fix the problem, and to assure them that if there are anything they want to talk about, to be able to give them a contact number so they can do this. So That has not happened yet. I have got some information, some numbers from representatives from the railroad who I'll be calling personally to see can we set that up to assure that the community that everything in their that they can do, they will do, and to give the citizens in this area a sense of comfort that it will be replaced and fixed, and that there is a sense of to be able to sleep at night knowing that this problem will be addressed. So, you know, like I thank them, but they did not do that, and I think that was unfortunate not to show the empathy to the community, and we will have to have some type of communication, or better communication, especially in the future, because you never know when things can happen, and I hope it never does again, but based on my experience living there, there's always some type of incidents that will happen eventually. So, no one got hurt, so that's the good thing about it. The last and final thing, like Councilwoman Black said about the Italian Festival, starts this weekend. The days are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 12 till 10 on Friday, and 11 on Saturday, and 8 o'clock on Sunday. It will be music, food, crafts, and we invite everyone out to the Italian Festival. Mr. Maricoli, do you have any additional information I may not have talked about for the Italian Festival to give some more dates or times or groups that I may have omitted?
No, actually, I don't have any additional information. I do know it is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You know, they're expecting large crowds, having, a lot of good food, good music, but I don't know the exact lineup. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I apologize too. I should have had that flyer to have it, but I know there will be a band called the Yak Pack and some other bands to look forward to. But my Mr. Reno, hey, Mr. Reno comes to the day. That's right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
While you're looking for that, I want to comment on what you said about the railroad. You know, I have the most disdain feelings about any of the railroad systems that run through Kenner, because I think they have no regard for the safety of our citizens, and I've been trying to bear down on them as hard as I can. And I have been talking to our emergency management director, Mr. Dote, about toxic spills in regards to overturning of any of these trains. I just can't stress enough how I would like to have these people brought, to the line and making them at least go out and speak to the people who are affected and the dangers that are associated. When we talk about emergency management stuff, we talk about hurricanes, we talk about plane crashes, but the major cause of my concern is the railroad system that runs throughout the South Kenner in regards to toxic goods and if we have a spill. So I would like to urge our emergency management team or the director to please pursue this and make these railroad companies total line in regards to the respect that it should give the Kenner when it's passing through Kenner, and especially when they have toxic fuel ingredients or whatever you call it, chemicals involved that can cause us a lot of hardships. So yeah. I'm behind you 100% on that, and I think that we need to take firm action.
Thank you. And also before I forgot to say something. Councilman Black obviously have our aunt who lives on the street, and Ms. Plyer and Ms. Soniak, and she seems to be the person that maybe get the initial call because she's been on a lot longer than I have when there are incidents within the railroad track itself that needs to be repaired, and they will call Councilwoman Black, and she will let me know to get on it because, people understand they can really look at trains and hear different things, and they know when things are wrong. We see now that there are a number of boards along the railroad tracks. I'm not an engineer, but that tells me that something needs to be replaced. And I also will be talking on a regular basis to Mr. Doe to ensure to get a schedule for these repairs because, the train doesn't stop. I mean, they went out there and did their due diligence as it relates to their economic situation because it is money when the train is unable to have cars pass on. So they immediately fixed that, but now we want to hold them to it. Oh, okay. Thank you, Councilman Reno. He actually had me some information here as it relates to the Heritage Italian Festival, Friday, April 5th, 6 to 11 p.m., Saturday, April 6th, from noon until 11 p.m., Sunday, April 7th, noon to 8 p.m., and on Saturday, the Navy Grover Band, Lena Prima, that's my Italian heritage coming out there. That's right. And the Fucare, that's Saturday. On Sunday, the Yak Pack, is that right, Jeannie? Yak Pack?
Yeah,
Is that right, Mr. Stagney? And the Bucktown All-Stars on Sunday from 5 to 8. So please come out, enjoy the festivities. The weather's going to be fantastic, and thank Councilman
And
Reno.
they'll have a altar, St. Joseph altar, which yours truly contributed some of the cookies on it, so.
Yeah, what was that what's the name?
Cuccigattis.
Cuccigattis. That's right. Cuccigattis. Come get a Cuccigatti from Councilman Black. That's right. Thank you.
Is that really Councilwoman DeFrancis, you have the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. Gonzalez? Jose? Sorry about that. We're doing...
I got it.
Okay, great. We are doing some drainage work, and I put out flyers concerning that drainage work on Talbot. And if you could just give people an idea of what we're doing and why we're doing it, please.
Okay, that's drainage work that was budgeted about a year or so ago under our capital budget.
Right.
And it calls for drainage improvements along Chateau Talbot as a phase one between Chateau Rothschild and Vintage Drive. We intend to start next week.
Correct.
And this first phase calls for the removal of half the roadway in order for us to be able to lay a large concrete drain line in there and tie to the existing drain line on Vintage, which will discharge to the west to the canal, I think canal number 10 that is right there. Weather permitting, that work is probably going to go on for maybe 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, and we're going to try our best to minimize any inconvenience that may take place out there. This is somewhat similar to what we've been doing on Idaho, okay? And the money was pretty much allocated at the same time.
Right.
We've been working on Idaho for the last few months. It was time for us to do Chateau Talbot, primarily because the Path to Progress project on Vintage is going to start there soon as well. And the last thing we want is for the Path to Progress program, remove and replace panels, overlay, and then for us to have to come back and tear up Vintage.
That would be a waste of money, absolutely. And I've already put the flyers out and to let them know that the eastern side of Talbot will be where the work is actually taking place.
That's correct.
But the western side of Talbot, that's the only way to describe it, will still be open to traffic. Is that not correct? That's what we put in our flyer.
Yeah,
You and I coordinated, you know, what we would place in the flyer to make sure that people knew.
And the reason we put the drain line on the east side is because on the east side, there are really no homes fronting.
Exactly.
On the west side, all the homes are fronting. So yeah, we are going to maintain one lane open. We're going to put proper barricades out there. But when you maintain one lane open, it's first come, first serve.
Exactly. And again, we wanted to make sure that people had as much notice as possible. So if they prefer, I think there are only actually 3 houses where it actually becomes a problem. And that's why we wanted to make sure that other neighbors on Rothschild and Mouton, if they use that access route through Talbot, know that they have an alternative way of getting home and perhaps would like to avoid that particular area while the work is being done. So that's why the flyers are going out to more than just the immediate impacted area. I also wanted you to verify that you and I, and Veolia, and the mayor at one point, and Mike Quigley and others, and Jerry, and hi Jerry, and others have gone out to the old Chateau transfer station, and we have walked the entire area, and then thanks to Councilman Reno informing me about some children getting into that area. I went out again the same day that the trail derailment occurred because I called you and you were in South Kenner at that time. And we are making sure that we're securing the property to keep it safe so children go into that property so we don't have vandalism, we don't have graffiti in the future. We are securing that property. Am I not correct?
That's correct. And let me give you an update as to what we're doing.
Great. That's what I wanted you to do.
Right now, what we have done is we gather a number of estimates for different types of fences out there. Okay. And we're just looking for a funding source right now to be able to install, the necessary fences. We're also looking for a funding source to demolish one of the buildings where most of the teenagers are concentrating on. Okay, so we're taking a parallel course to try to, eliminate, young kids from going into that area with a fence, okay, because the existing fence is not in good condition, and also by demolishing one of the buildings. But now, by demolishing one of the buildings, they may go into other buildings,
Right,
but at
we
least we'll have a fence, okay, that would be in good shape.
And actually, Ms. Newton and I have already had a meeting as well, and we're and I've asked her to look, help us look into hazard mitigation grants from the federal government. Because of the nature of that transfer station, we should be eligible to get some of those grants, so we don't have to go to the people for money, because those are worthwhile projects that should be federally funded instead of some of the nonsense that actually does get funded. So we're going to try very hard to not incur any additional expenses for the people of Kenner, and at the same time address those issues that need to be addressed. Am I not correct, Ms. Newton, that we're looking into those? Good. And please just keep us keep in contact, and let's see, where we can go from here.
Now, let me say this, in the next month or two, there's going to be extremely a good amount of construction going on Vintage and Chateau. Plus, we're going to be installing a permanent generator at Meadow and Vintage, so that there's going to be a lot of construction. So you may want to talk to your constituents and say, there's 2 or 3 projects that are going to be taking care, that are going to be taking place more or less around the same time.
And that's why, as I said, I already put out flyers, and I'm going to put even more flyers out tomorrow. But if you and I could get together about that, about the next the next project and exactly when it's going to start, I will make sure I get as many flyers out to as many people as I can to make sure they're aware of what's happening, when it's happening, and how long it's going to take. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Yenny, you would like the floor?
One of the things that came up, Councilman Reno has some regularly scheduled coffees and desserts at his house, and I had the privilege of attending his last one where a lot of issues came up. One of the main issues that came up was a lady had discussed, and I believe she came to the council meeting, that she was paying, was it $6,200 in flood insurance.
That was
And we got some good news because of that meeting and because of some other meetings with the flood maps and everything. I'm gonna let Tamithia add to that, and how a resident has now taken a massive cut in what she's paying.
God bless.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, we met one of the constituents at Councilman Reno's home when he invited his constituent out to find out. She did come to our meetings. Kenner, this council asked, this mayor requested, and we had the privilege of having a FEMA open house here. We had citizens come through, find out what's going to happen with their properties. She was here. She got a chance to talk in depth with the FEMA representatives. They suggested some things that maybe we could do to assist her. We did it the next day. She called us to say she's never been happier, that she got word that her new insurance rate would be $1,400 a year from
And are they going to reimburse her?
They're gonna readjust it, and even when her new maps come out, she may be paying lower, but, we have some other people who had issues. We're working on those, but I want to thank this council. I want to especially thank this mayor because of your request to have them come to Kenner. And like I said, I want to reiterate, they didn't go to individual cities. They went to parishes, but they did come to the city of Kenner. And so we're hoping that we can help even more people. Like I said, we were fortunate that our maps look good where our citizens will be able to benefit. So I want to thank all of you, and thank you for having that open house, because that's what started this. So thank you.
It's nice to be able to play on the fact that we're bigger than 59 other parishes, so that gives us a little leverage.
Kudos to the administration and to Councilman Reno, obviously. Thank you. Next, Council Clerk.
Item 18 is new business. That was taken earlier. Item 19 is unfinished business and motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position.
And we have Mr. Al Morello sprucing up, buttoning up his coat.
Wait, let me go one more for him. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
I knew it was coming.
Al Morello, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 41 years.
I want to comment on an article in the Kenner Star relative to the contract that the mayor negotiated with SMG, who manages the Pontchartrain Center. I want to commend the mayor on the $95,000 management fee that he saved the city. But I'm looking at the figures, and also there's a deficit reduction incentive in there also. But I'm looking at the figures, the deficits they're running down there, and the cost of operating the Pontchartrain Center. Now, I know I brought this up at the budget hearings last year, and I think it would not hurt to have an independent auditor audit those books as well, because we still subsidizing the Pontchartrain Center. And I would like to see exactly what the, you know, it's like the 40th President of the United States said at one time, Ronald Reagan, that trust but verify. Now, moving on to 13A. In all fairness to the mayor, I do want to say this. He did have a town hall meeting at the Pavilion last month, and there was public input, whatever public attended that town hall meeting. So I got to say this: he did open it up to the public in that one meeting. How many other meetings he had, I don't know. That's the only one I know about. As far as investing in the city, our infrastructure, I have no problem with that because our roads, most of our main thoroughfares are in deplorable condition. The problem I've always had for quite some time, I don't think the taxpayers, for whatever reason, are getting their money's worth on certain projects in this city. Last year, or a year before, it might have been a year or two ago, we had Joe Yenny Boulevard resurfaced. And I can tell you, it wasn't long after it was resurfaced, and I brought this up down here, that we had some serious dips along Joe Yenny that still exist today, and they're getting very bad. Our Public Works Department goes out there from time to time, and they try to do patchwork, but it makes it worse. It runs from the bridge down there after you come out of Beachview Heights, all the way before you get into Wood Lake Estates by me. And those dips are bad. And I'm afraid what's going to happen, these vehicles passing with these trailers on the back, these work trailers, one day they're going to hit that dip so hard that trailer's going to disengage itself from the truck, and there's going to be a serious accident. So it's my belief, I don't know if it's shoddy work. I don't know if it's inferior materials, something we need to really look at. Anybody got any comments, any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Mayor? Duke, excuse me.
Yeah, just wanted to mention that the city's auditors do audit the Pontchartrain Center as part of the city's audit because we own it. So it is audited by the DePlanche firm.
Okay, thank you. Jose? Can you see?
I know y'all gonna laugh at this. With regards to Joe Yenny Boulevard.
Which one is that?
I know, I knew you were gonna laugh. That's my boss there. I can't even pronounce his last name. No, with regards to that boulevard, that's one of the projects that is going to be resurfaced under the Path to Progress. Okay, so those dips will be taken care of. And probably the main reason for those dips is that under those dips, we probably have outfall pipes that go into the canal. So when that roadway was rehabbed a few years ago, they put a few outfall pipes. And in that area, those outfall pipes have settled more than the adjacent roadway, and that's probably the cause for those dips. But all those dips will be addressed with the Path to Progress improvements that will be taking place in the very near future. And it will go from Williams all the way to Sal Lentini.
Thank you, Jose. And when you say that Path to Progress, what other name is it known for, just in case people don't understand the connection?
In the old days, Submerged Road.
I'm sorry?
Submerged Roads.
Okay. Thank you so much. I was looking for another answer. I thought maybe that had something to do with the renewal of the bonds, the whole process. the bond renewal process is also called, it has something to do with the past the progress, is what I was talking about. Okay. Am I wrong? Next, let's see. Mr. Larry Daigle. Hey, Larry, how you feeling?
Larry Daigle, 4128 Tulane, Kenner, Louisiana, 5th District. Doing good, Jeannie. 13, I went out and had major surgery on my stomach. I just want to thank a couple of people, Ronnie Villarino, calling my house and making sure I'm all right. Miss Maria called, and I especially want to thank John Davies for picking me up and bringing me where I had to go and feeding me and getting me back on my feet. Mr. Mayor, that video I see on KTV about the city of Kenner, how it's supposed to look in the future, I got one word for that thing, man. Wow. That's awesome. It's going to look nice. And I'd like to thank the people behind the scenes of your administration, the grass cutters, the ditch diggers, and all y'all people sitting out in the audience where y'all could be home with y'all families, but I really appreciate y'all being here, and y'all do a great job. Thanks.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate you coming by. Mr. O'Neill Wicketer, was he here earlier, and he's no longer here? Mr. Leon Nelson. Mr. Thomas Cargagliano. I assume these all had all to do with the taxi cabs, right? Fireman. Mr. Yeah, they're going. Okay. Mr. Walt Benetti. Oh, he's gone. I'm so sorry. Okay. Come on up, Walt.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I was ready to sit back down. Walt Benetti, 3009 Illinois Avenue. I just wanted to reiterate what Councilman Carroll said about the Italian Heritage Festival and encourage everyone to come out to Rivertown this weekend. I was not able to attend last year as I was hospitalized, but I will try to make it out there this year and make every effort. And per Councilwoman Black, I will try to not trip anyone or kick anyone while I'm there, just to warn everybody. Again, I wanted to commend Councilman Stagney and Councilman Carroll for attempting to slow down 13A and 13B. I would also like to encourage each of the council members to take this opportunity to poll their constituents and find out what they really think about the bond issue and the refinancing. To the best of my knowledge, and I could be wrong, the only council member that I was told that actually attended a civic association meeting and gave a complete presentation about the bond issue was Councilman Carroll. And the feedback that I received from that meeting was decidedly negative on the part of the public. I did not hear, and I trust you, Councilwoman DeFrancis. I just did not hear that firsthand myself. But I appreciate that and try to get as much input as possible, whether you agree with the mayor or not. That isn't the issue. The issue is that the public should have input. Finally, I'd like to thank Councilman Stagney for appointing me to the Code Enforcement Committee. I look forward to working with the committee and working closely with Ms. Shaw and trying to help and provide input in any way that I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benetti. Hearing no other discussion, do I have a motion? Oh, excuse me. Oh, pardon me. Come on up. Or come on down, whatever. Your name and address again, please.
Connie Zimmerman, 2453 Taffy Drive. I wanted to speak to the council and comment on the Kenner Master Plan, Kenner 2030 plans. As a citizen of Kenner, and as a citizen of the United States of America, I have tremendous concerns about master plans and smart growth. There's counties and states across the country who are dissociating themselves from smart growth, and I see that Kenner is embracing smart growth. There's reasons why people are separating themselves from it. The state of Florida actually mandated at one point that every one of their counties participate in smart growth. Florida repealed that once they started to understand what smart growth was. I would like to make a request to my councilman that we do some kind of a study and find out why everybody's divorcing themselves from this. I know, because I've done probably about 1 million hours of research on it, but I understand that everybody else doesn't know. And it's very dangerous. It's a threat to our property rights and a threat to our liberty. And so I wanted to point that out. I appreciate the passion. I appreciate the vision of this beautiful Kenner that people are talking about. And I do not think that in any way anyone is malicious in their attempt to bring this into Kenner. But I do think that each council person owes it to their constituents to investigate this and make sure that we're not opening a door to a big problem. And I totally feel like we're opening a door to a huge debt. And I feel like it's extremely irresponsible given that our country is in such incredible debt. And my point is that Kenner is a part of Louisiana. Louisiana is one of the 50 states of the United States of America. It's our debt.
1 minute left, sweetie.
Pardon?
I said 1 minute left.
Okay. Thank you. So when we incur more debt, when we already have $16 trillion of debt for our country, I don't think it gives a good message to the kids at all. And definitely doesn't give a good message to me as a citizen of Kenner. I love Kenner. I've been living in Kenner for many, many years. I'm very satisfied with it. I'm disappointed that so many people are so dissatisfied with it. Anyway, so thank you very much. And I appreciate the concept of more transparency regarding this plan.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Zimmerman. And might I just add one thing, that Kenner is very conscious of debt. When the Treasure Chest Casino came in, since they have been in the city of Kenner, we have paid, through those revenues, over $20 million of debt resources, because we dedicated 25% of that to retiring some of the debt. So we're not completely oblivious to that. We have, in the time that it has been, the Treasure Chest Casino has been in, that's how much we have dedicated to retiring our debt. So that has not been mentioned tonight, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that. So hearing no other discussion, do I have a motion to adjourn? So be it.
A meeting to motion?